Hello and welcome back to another episode of Diplo Strats. This time around we're going to be doing part 2 of Diplomacy 1862. So this is a really interesting diplomacy variant. We went over a lot of the mechanics the first time around. We've got a few years to get through and we don't have a ton of time tonight, so we may be going a little bit faster than we did in the first bit. Once again, I am here with Ezio. Hi Ezio.
Hello, hello.
And I'm going to say we just dive right back into this and have a look at the orders on the next phase, which I believe is 1865 now. Shall we start in North America?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So, last time, I think one of the major themes that was arriving was that England was kind of dominating in a lot of locations, and a lot of the other players felt like they were playing their theatres independently from one another, right? So, in this variant, for the colonials, a different player is controlling different regions. So what we were seeing was like Spain allied to France in one theatre and fighting them in another, and the only colonial who seemed to be able to make that work to a good extent was England. We'll see if that continues to be the case here. Is there anything
Yeah.
that stands out to you immediately in the North American theatre?
I see a couple of holds, which look like a misorder if I had to bet. I see these two holds, right? Do you think like one of them was trying to support the other one in somewhere?
I feel like that would have been represented on the map. I wonder if they are literally just, I don't want this Union army to be getting into either of these dots. And they
Huh.
just didn't think to do the support hold on both. Of course, like, holding is a perfectly legitimate strategy, and in a situation like this, that Union army is going to come off the board at the end of the year because you're presumably going to be taking or helping eliminate these remaining Union dots. So keeping it there is a good idea, but also you may as well just throw support holds to stop any potential attack coming in from
Yeah.
another direction, right?
Yeah, usually you'd want to do that.
Hmm.
Or even in this case, I could see just going for Chicago, right? Um,
Yeah.
like take whatever's at Iowa, I guess would be the location.
Yes.
Support yourself into Iowa, and then you have three on Chicago, or even only two if you then want to cover LEC, like assuming Iowa retreats to Nebraska or something.
Hmm.
But
It,
I don't know.
it looks to me like the Confederacy is pretty heavily in England's in the England camp right now, in that they're supporting this unit down into New York City, right? So
Yeah,
blowing up this unit here, they're taking the last center here, and then I think Russia and Mexico are working together to eliminate the Union here. So, um, yeah,
yeah. No, the
it
are
looks
having
to
a
me
bad time.
that's probably why they're not going for Chicago. They're very pro England. Although the question then is how long, can you work with England if the only enemy you're working together against is about to be eliminated?
Yeah, especially given that you're trying presumably to win the game,
Hmm.
and you need to get to 15 centers to win, and you only have the one region to do it in. You're at three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. Like you're going up to
Probably.
10 or something,
Yeah, I
maybe?
see. I think that's a dot as well. So,
Sure.
five. Yeah, there. It's just under the arrow.
Sure.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10 this turn, and then going up to 11. So they are
Yeah,
actually relatively close. Oh,
plus taking Key West and this nice stab on Spain, right, to get into Key West and then into New Orleans.
they're actually really
And
close, yeah. Man.
exactly. So it's like maybe there was a good opportunity there to get an extra edge, and like try to take Chicago as well. As is, they can still take it in the fall, assuming the Union doesn't support it to hold, right?
Yes.
But now you have this annoying guess. Whereas if you'd forced that Iowa in oh whatever.
Yeah. I actually hadn't realized quite how close the Confederacy was to winning this theater, and this is gonna provoke an immediate emergency response, I assume, from people. Because,
From whom?
well, I would think Mexico gets eliminated, right? If this goes through.
I mean, I agree, but what's Mexico gonna do about it is my point.
I mean, maybe not take Confederate support out of the centers that are adjacent to the Confederacy's army.
Maybe, but look at what they did. So, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I do wonder if we're just gonna have an attempt at this. Like, if they support themselves into Chicago here, walk this army into one of these two, right? Take Key West, try and support themselves into here. Maybe even, like, walk this down to Havana and hope that you get another unit into Key West, although I gotta assume that's gonna be bounced, right? Maybe they could
but even
solo
still, I
this
think you'd
here.
rather take Havana. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems worth a shot.
Alternatively, I don't see. I can't see all the adjacencies. There's currently a British unit in an ocean that's adjacent to ECO, right?
ECO being the East Coast here.
Yeah.
Do you mean a British fleet or a British?
Did a British fleet get in there? No, NYC. I recognize. I'm trying to check if you can take NYC because I suspect that the Confederacy are going to be able to just like use Pennsylvania to support East Coast into New York City, right?
Oh, they absolutely could. Yeah, this is not British because they supported.
Their what got bounced out.
Brazil
Actually, it doesn't even matter because it's an army in New York City. The Union fleet's going to get disbanded. They couldn't even support it out.
Yes.
So New York City is guaranteed because you can't tap it. I assume from TOR.
Yeah,
because there's that's water between them, and they like doing that. So yeah, okay. So that's another dot.
Wow.
1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dot, 4 dot. Yeah, 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dot, 4 dot, 5 dot.
So
solo.
That
You
brings
should
them
write
to
that
15. Yeah, that would be enough. Well, we'll see how that goes. That's certainly a looming endgame threat, much sooner than I was expecting to happen.
Yeah, same.
Hey, we will see how that goes. If we move down to South America now. So here I think the story of last time was that... I can't remember if this is Peru, right?
That's Peru, yeah.
Yes, okay. Colombia was the one that got not eliminated. They're still alive here, but very close to eliminated. So Peru,
the other one that's also
Peru and Brazil were doing quite well, and then Chile was kind of just hanging on for dear life, and then is now playing kind of between them. And it looks like they took a side because they didn't accept Brazilian support into SLT, and they're trying to move around this way. They did accept the Peruvian support into PAA here. So they have decided to take Peru's side, which I think puts Peru in a very good position, but I don't know that they can outrace Confederacy. Here we've got 1, 2, 3... 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 dots right now. And potential gains of this Cartagena, right? Potentially one here. I don't see 5.
Yep.
They could walk back into Lima, I get. That's not Lima. Whatever that is.
Lima's further north, LIM is Lima. LMA. I don't know that one. I got nothing.
Yep. I was informed by the variant creator after the last video, there is actually a cheat sheet on the Discord of what every single one of these provinces stands for, so if I was really doing my homework I could look it up, but as per usual I haven't, so we are just guessing once again. If you're very interested, I would once again recommend checking out the Discord. The link will be in the description below. Is there anything else you want to... anything specific you want to talk about in this region?
Nah, it sucks to be Peru. Sorry, it sucks to be Brazil. And Peru as well, because Peru doesn't get to win because they're having a great game, but this is a variant where winner takes it all, and they're not going to beat the Union, the Confederacy, excuse me. The Unions got beat already.
Well, a quick reminder, they could take second place, right? The winner...
Yeah, but, like, come on.
The idea is you'll be able to fight your theatre out. What's interesting, though, is I believe this at least counts as part of the North American theatre as well as the South American, so that they will lose that to the blackout.
Do you know about Cartagena?
I need to look at the victory condition maps. Hang on. Let me see if I can pull that up.
Cartagena.
Alright, these are the victory condition maps. So, oh my god, this is all joint between the two of them.
Oof.
So, that's a lot of potential Peruvian centers that are gonna get eliminated if the Confederacy wins the game right here.
Oof.
But yeah, as you mentioned, sucks to be Brazil. They haven't got an ally in this theatre. It looks like they've tried to get Spain on side, and maybe they have, but I don't see how Spain is going to really help them, especially considering Spain is about to collapse up here. Or at least need to pull everything back in order to defend it. So yeah, bit of a painful one for them. But, thankfully, Brazil still has a presence in Africa. Despite having no units there.
Hell, yes?
Yeah, see, they should have kept the army here and just established dominance over the African theatre. They're clearly going to get pushed out of here, so...
Yeah, clearly that would have gone great. Uh-huh.
Speaking of the African theatre, I don't remember who we said was likely to win it last time. It felt a lot of the time like there weren't enough units in it for anyone to really do very well, right?
Yeah, we were looking at it as Turkey really started taking control of the region. And Turkey did a good job of getting control, but that superiority looks like it's forced the French and British together. And so now Turkey's going to have a tough fight on their hands.
Yeah, notably French and British together actually have quite a lot of armies in the region. There's 1, 2, 3 on this front, right? And then another 2 up here, which I think outweighs the Ottoman total of 2. They're really only 2.
But they're in big provinces. I think there's 3, right? I think there's ERG, there's OKHA, and then there's the army now that's going to be in CAME. Right.
Sorry, what's the third army?
So KHA is moving to ZAM. Isn't there an army in like HAB?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it's over here.
Yeah.
All right.
So, but either way, still outmatched, outgunned, outclassed,
outnumbered, outplanned.
Yeah,
Indeed.
that one. And I don't think there's any Washington coming in to save me because he was dead like 100 years prior.
Also,
not 100 years prior.
Washington's forces are a little scattered here.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, we're probably saying advantage France and England here, but of course, the flip side to that is that because France and England are an alliance, they may turn on each other at some point, and that's probably what you're looking to try and make happen as the Ottomans in this situation, because otherwise you are going to have a bad time. Yeah, and it really feels like this is the Ottomans' only win condition right now, because Europe, they've had a really solid juggernaut throughout, and they've gained nothing. Right?
I believe they have gained literally 0 dots, yes.
Yeah, they worked with Italy to be able to blow up Austria, I think. But of course, the problem with this versus regular diplomacy is Serbia is not a supply center, and that was the one place they managed to take. And it looks like now they're affirming their alliance with the Italian. They're moving this away, right? They're moving this back, and probably a pre-planned bounce in the Ionian Sea. Which I think is completely reasonable, because I think the Turk at this point really has to focus on Africa as their win condition, which means they want to peace out with all their neighbors up here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Fight where you're gonna win. Thought we were gonna lose. That's my advice.
Yep, that is generally a very good plan. Any other comments on Africa before we move on from it?
Such a weird continent in this mode, man.
It really is.
Um,
It,
yeah,
it
that's
just,
my comment.
it just feels so much more empty than everywhere else, and that's not a bad thing at all, right? It's super interesting to have somewhere that's so different to everywhere else, but it does just feel really
Oh,
odd to analyze, see the massive fights happening everywhere else, and then here it's like 6 armies controlling the entire continent, or fighting over the entire continent.
yeah, it's weird because all of the dots are so far away from each other. Like, I, there's relatively few dots that are relatively spaced out. Can you go back to that map where we see the wind condition again?
Yep, sure. Let me grab that. Okay. So notably, all of these are in both Europe and Africa, according to this. So
Yeah,
the Spanish dots in particular might be relevant here, and of course the fact that the Ottomans control
yeah,
this area.
yeah.
But yeah,
I don't know, man. I don't anticipate anyone winning in Africa. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Alright, well, we will move on up here to Europe then, which is a bit of a Thunderdome. We have a lot of powers competing for control here. Of course, Spain basically got eliminated here after an excellent English stab earlier on that went into Seville and Lisbon. But they're hanging on with the few units they've got left, and I think it actually succeeds here. They get into Seville, right? With this unit. So they are going to kick the English out.
Well done.
Yeah. And the French were working with the English in this theatre, but now it looks like they're not. Right? They hold the Prussians in the North Sea, and they're moving their fleet back into the Bay of Biscay. So,
Yeah, it looks like the British probably thought France was going to tap something with their army in Navarra. I don't know
oh,
why France would stop here, but hey,
yeah. Well, it makes me think that France isn't looking at this theatre as the one they want to win, but I don't really see them being strong enough in any of the others to contest either. Maybe they want to focus Africa, but if you want to focus Africa, then you really want these dots right here, because they count for Africa as well, so, yeah. It's possible France is also just playing balance of power, said that, oh, England is getting too strong, let's turn around and hit them.
yeah,
Right?
maybe. That's very reasonable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and elsewhere, it looks like the Russians are taking English support against the Prussians and moving in on Prussia here. Actually, a really bad turn for Prussia in terms of losing stuff on this front.
Yeah, it looks like Prussia's getting attacked by everyone, right?
Not by France. They are getting support held here, but this is,
True.
yeah.
Not by France,
And
but by Italy, by Russia, and by England. Although
yes,
England walked into Sweden after.
that
Like
is
Sweden,
true.
they're only talking about Stockholm here. They should split up Sweden into a couple of smaller ones. I think Gothenburg at least deserves an extra center.
I think a lot of the centers on this map are quite large, right? You've got
Don't
stuff
at
like
me.
Moscow and Omsk is a little large.
Oh, I'm not talking about that. Just like the historical importance of Gothenburg shouldn't be understated, Captain.
Oh, I see, I see. Right. No bias here whatsoever.
No,
You've been spoilt by Flair's Imperial Diplomacy map just focusing everything on Sweden because he's
I really
Swedish.
have. Where he's got like, there's what, 4 dots in Sweden, I think. Umea, Stockholm. No, maybe only three. Umea, Stockholm, and Gothenburg, right? But
Something
Umea,
like
I don't
that.
know if Umea this one.
I am
But
actually
anyways,
playing Sweden in a current game, so I really should know this off the top of my head, but I don't.
I mean, well, I appreciate that he gave the pre-cores over in Narva and whatever the Norwegian one is. Um,
Trondheim, I think.
Trondheim. Yeah, that one doesn't really feel like it should be a pre-core if you ask me. But hey, we're not looking at that map. We're looking at
Yes.
this map right now.
Um,
Sorry, everybody.
and right
England did a
now,
good job. Yeah, supporting Stockholm into Copenhagen and then backfilling from Oslo. Very clean,
yep.
very legal.
And again, it just feels like, even despite the French flipping on them here, good moves from England all around. They still have this fleet out here, right? They still.
Yeah.
I mean, that fleet. Oh, it isn't even blown up. It can just retreat here. Or it can go to the East Atlantic Ocean. East Atlantic Ocean heading over here. I want to say that's Mogadishu, but I might be in the complete wrong area of the map there. And yeah, this is still looking like a decent theatre for England, even though it's probably not their strongest one.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about in Europe?
Poor Prussia.
Yeah, they were doing pretty well here, it looked like, in pushing out, but I guess they have now lost the advantage on that front. Yeah. When everyone turns against you, you really need to flip people back to your side or you are going to die in this game.
Yeah.
Alright, so now we move to the Asian theatre in general, Asia and Oceania.
Yeah.
Which...
This is where England was really crushing.
Yes. Well, here we do see China managed to slip into Kabul, which they, I believe, attempted to do last turn, but were blocked by the British. But it looks like they're fighting Russia at the same time, so...
Yeah.
I mean...
But that's better than just letting England get everything without fighting at all.
Yes, I think it's correct, right? As well, because Russia appears to be working with England here. They seem to be working with England over here as well. I mean, they're not walking into England's dots, right? So it's kind of reasonable to assume that if you're attacking England here, you might want to attack England here as well. The only downside with this is by supporting this province into here, and taking that, and walking into Kabul, Russia gets the free retreat going this way.
Yeah. The free retreat out of Turkmenistan is going to be unfortunate. Right into a center. Thankfully, there's no backfill at least, so maybe you're going to be able to retake it. But Kabul is going to get tapped. Nah, that sucks.
Yeah, it's so difficult to corral this, right? Even if you manage to dislodge it, it goes here or it goes here, and then it's even, well, if it goes there, it's a massive pain.
Plus, it's adjacent to another center even in CNG.
Yeah.
So, CHG. So, yeah.
Painful. But China does appear to have a really solid alliance here with Japan, which I think is a massive benefit to them. It looks like you look at this position, you think they are going to be fairly secure, right? As long as they keep working together. The one thing that makes them not secure is that unit retreating there. But yeah.
Yeah. What's the front look like with Japan?
Right, so...
It's just nice, peaceful. They figured everything out. They got no issues right now. And Japan's trying to, beat Spain? Okay.
It looks like it, yes. They are taking the occasional centers from here. Russia is trying to support Spain out this way, which is curious. But, yes. I don't know how long I'd want to stay in this alliance as Japan, because it doesn't feel like they've got very much in the way of expansion prospects. But at the same time, if China is the only thing harming the Brits in this theatre, you kind of have to let them do it, right? Because, once again, if someone wins, that's you eliminated. So,
yeah.
What did we count Britain as on this theatre? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So Britain was.
And then they're getting another something, right? Isn't there a dot down there?
There's a dot.
Is that?
Here.
Yeah, that's a dot. Yeah.
And it looks like they're trying to position on these dots as well.
Yeah, because the fleet in SNG also borders KUC, right? So they can then take KUC next. right? They can support themselves in.
Jeez.
So, yeah, that's a lot.
Yep. I'd
And then they've
forgotten
got,
this region here. We have the two poor Spanish armies that have just been stranded here for the
yeah, and
entire
they
game.
can't even support each other right now because that army up in Manila is not doing much. And
Yep.
then there are two fleets for France to support themselves in PHN and GDH, so England isn't taking anything there immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So England's going to be up to like 13 in this theater?
Yeah, it seems like they're not threatening an instant win in the same way that the Confederacy is over here.
Yeah.
But they are certainly threatening to become very established and, like, potentially unstoppable just because this is such a hard border to push through, right? Especially if England just goes, oh, wait, no, that's a fleet. They can't do that. If this was an army and they just threw support holds onto the Himalayas every single turn, it's become so difficult to push anything past here. You really need intervention from Africa to stop, to stop England from winning the game.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Or coming in second, as the case may be.
yeah. Well, that probably about does it. Do you want to talk about anything else in the Asian theater?
Uh, no, I think we can go on to the next phase.
Okay. Right. So we're. I was gonna say that was an incredibly quick phase, right? And then I looked at the time. I'm like, oh my god, we spent so long on these every time anyway. Alright, anyway, so we're gonna see a retreat. We do see the retreat into Uru here, which is gonna be painful for China to deal with. And then we go to the next movement phase. So let's go ahead and look up here at the Confederacy first.
Do they win?
They try to do exactly what you mentioned, right? They take Chicago, they take New York, they take Cincinnati, they take New Orleans, and they take Key West.
Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, is that game?
I think that's it.
We're on 10 already. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Did I miscount?
Maybe we were off by one. Okay, I'll do a quick count. Sorry.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I count 14.
Okay. So they're one off. Jeez. And you can see Mexico panic here and go, oh my god. They're so close to the win. Just cover everything immediately. So yeah, that...
And a good thing, right? If Mexico, if the Confederacy walked into that center, then that would have been it.
Yep. That would be lights out for Mexico as well. Entirely. But yes, you can see...
What unit is... which country is in BAH now?
Whereabouts is that?
Bahamas.
Oh, I see.
What country is someone moving? Spain.
It's Spain coming back this way. Yeah.
Yeah, the arrow coloring is very annoying. Where like, hey, it's a Spanish unit, but it's a black arrow.
Yeah, I mean, I think that works the same kind of way for most diplomacy.
Yeah, I think so. It's just with like with the Confederacy right there, it's tough because their arrows might be black anyways.
Yeah, fair enough. So I do kind of like this, right? The Confederacy actually place an army in New York City ready to push up this way if they need to, and keeping control of the East Coast at the same time. And I don't see any way that could have been dislodged because there was only one enemy fleet adjacent. Just looking around, it does appear like the rest of the board are getting ready to contest them, though. England coming down to NEB, I assume Nebraska?
That's what I guess.
Yeah, and then Russia convoying an army into Portland here to help, presumably to help attack on this front. And helping Mexico into San Francisco. So the Union is officially dead at this point. Yeah. Well, so well played to the Confederacy for winning their civil war this time, anyway. But yeah, here, it does seem to be all hands on deck, or else Confederacy will win the game. Is there anything else you want to talk about here?
I'm just going to take a little bit, because this might be one of those cases where it's an all hands on deck, and the Confederacy wins anyways. So
what I'm thinking with that is, it's actually kind of tough for the Confederacy to take another dot. They were... mainly because what worked in their favour on this turn, the fact that Toronto is not adjacent to any of the dots down here, actually works against them now. Because if they move up to this new, I assume that's the main province, New York, but hey, and then if they push an army up into mid, well, one of those things is possibly going to get bounced, and even if you do manage to get into both of them, it just takes one support hold to keep this province. And this is cored because everything adjacent to it is coloured, so they could just build an army here if they've gained a dot, and that kind of just walls you out entirely here.
So England kind of needs to build a unit in MTL, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think you need to stop an army walking into New York or into Maine. And I expect that the Confederacy is going to convoy New York City into Maine while moving Pennsylvania into New York. And then Chicago and Cincinnati coordinate on MID, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And so you can bounce New York, the province itself, but then you're not going to be able to bounce Maine no matter what, and then they're going to still be adjacent to Toronto, and so you're going to have this brutal guess between covering MTL or Maine. I think you...
Notably, they can bounce Maine with the fleet that they have on the coast, right?
Didn't it get in?
No, this bounces...
I guess it could still bounce from the North Atlantic anyways.
It gets bounced out by this Brazilian fleet, because the Brazil attacks the province down here, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that helps. And then I suspect England is going to be positive anyways, and so slapping an army down there in MTL is going to be fine. So it doesn't look like they're getting anything from the north. Okay, let's double check the south real quick, because that's an army in New Orleans, it's an army in Key West, the fleet in ECO, but then there's that fleet in Bahamas. We have to see what Spain disbands, if anything. I assume Spain isn't disbanding much, so...
So the real issue I see here is just the lack of Confederate fleet support. Even if they do build a bunch of fleets along this coast, right, they're stuck behind the East Coast fleet. And if they build a fleet here, that kind of removes their ability to move this way, which you would think they kind of need to do in order to get dots at this point. I feel like...
they're only going to lose LEC, though, right? That's the only dot they're really in danger of having taken from them.
Yeah, probably this one too, right? MAT.
Well, they're building in Houston, so I'm not worried about that one.
Yeah, but Mexico gained San Francisco, right? So Mexico is probably building here as well.
They can't.
Oh, they can't, because, of course, yeah, this is not, their dot. So by the coloring rule, it's not a core. Interesting.
Yeah. And even if they take MAT, then you can still retreat to SLP.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine LEC is just going to flee to New Mexico. And then there's going to be that army in Houston. But they took Chicago from the western location, and they don't have a core. MEM is not a core. Memphis, I guess, is not a core because they haven't colored in Tennessee yet.
Yep.
So they have a really difficult time, to your point, getting more units to the west. Yeah. I don't think they're going to win the game next year either. That's unfortunate. That was close. Good try. All right, you want to just check the Asian front, actually, so we see if England just wins? Because if England's out of the game also, that makes life a lot easier for them, right?
Yeah.
Because if England just wins, they can walk into all those dots.
Can have a quick look. It looks like France managed to get into Perth, which was kind of important here. England does just take KUC. And they take SNG.
And MAV, right? Havana or whatever, the one in the Philippines?
Yes, they do. And they take this center right here. So that is a lot of gains.
Oh, Spain just throws.
Oh,
Spain hard and check out that one. Yeah. They get that one too. So I think Spain just throws. So I think that means England just wins
did England just
because you
win?
weren't counting all these thoughts.
Hang on.
We should double check.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here, 7, 8, 9. That one's not a dot. 10, 11. I don't think there's a dot there. 12, 13, 14. China support their unit back from Kabul, but it's 14. They're not there. Man.
Okay.
That is incredibly close, though. Bloody hell. I wonder why Spain threw. I assume it's because Japan is attacking them here. They just went, screw it. Like,
I mean, people throw all the time.
Yeah, if you're gonna come in on me right here, I'm just gonna eliminate you from the game by letting England win this theatre and then play somewhere else. Although the other areas.
So yeah, remind me what happens if people win the 2 separate theaters at the same time. Who gets first?
I don't remember.
Because I can see a world where England says, "Hey, you know what? Confederacy, it's fine. You can win in North America. I'll win in Asia this turn." So they both get to their 15 supply centers next year, and that seems totally fine.
Yeah, I believe there's a tiebreak in the form of how many centers you have. I'm not sure what happens if you're on the same number of centers. I may ask Superstition that and just pop a note up in the video at this point, or if I don't have time for that before I'm editing, I'll stick it in the comments once I do know. Hey, Editing Room Meme here. I did ask Superstition about this, and he informed me that if 2 powers reach 15 supply centers in different theaters at the same time, then neither power wins. The game continues until one of those powers is 2 ahead of the other. Or until one of them drops back below 15 supply centers. That is actually going to be relevant in this game, and it contradicts a little bit of our commentary because it means there's actually a way to stop someone winning in another theatre even if they get to 15 dots. And that does actually happen in this game. At one point we miscount and say that someone is on 14 supply centers when they're actually on 15, but it doesn't give them the win because someone else in another theatre is also on 15 supply centers. So keep that in mind as you listen on to the video. But
Sure.
yeah, that's actually a really important question, and I'm now a little annoyed at myself that I didn't ask the creator that prior to this recording. But yeah, England is currently then at 14. This slip-in actually becomes super relevant then, right? That stops England from winning the game.
Yeah.
But only for this turn. So we'll see how it goes for them. You can actually see it looks like it was I was gonna say it looked like it was an interesting last minute decision because England was supporting their fleet that way, but that's not England, right? That's Peru. Trying to get the English to go this way and help them out.
Sure. And so that's Russia? Funny.
Yeah, that's Russia over there in Honolulu. Right. So, we've looked at... Is there anything else you want to talk about on East Asia? Well, Asia in general?
I mean, not particularly. England didn't win, but we know England's gonna win. It's just a matter of time, especially if Spain continues to throw.
Mm-hmm.
So we can check Europe.
It's becoming a race there. I did just want to have a look at this, actually, 1 second, the situation that's going on over here, because China do manage to take the dot off of Russia, but Russia now has a unit here, and a unit that gets to retreat even deeper into the Chinese lands. I don't love, especially when England is this close to winning, I don't love bringing the unit back to dislodge this. But I don't know whether they had any better decisions. Is there a way that you would handle this unit right here?
Well, first of all, I'd cry. Second of all, I'd probably support myself from CHG, not from Kabul, because I kind of like having my unit in the center when England's like winning the game. But
Yeah.
I guess this is also a way to throw to England to say, you know what, Russia, screw you. I told you to disband that unit, and you didn't. I guess so. I don't know.
Oh, you know what's even worse about this? I don't know if this is the case, actually. These might be... No, these are starting centers. Okay, it doesn't matter. I was gonna say that this unit
Oh
retreating into
yeah.
here would decore all of these.
Oh yeah.
But I
That would
don't...
be so brutal.
But that's clearly not the case, because some of these are neutral anyway, and they're still build centers, so... Um, yeah. In some situations, prevention is much better than cure, and in this situation, I think that is the case. You just have to not let the Russian unit get there in the first place, because there's no way to deal with it now. Alright, so, let's have a look at... Where do you want to look at first, sorry?
South America, I don't care between the two.
Okay,
Just
we'll go with South America.
sure.
So here the contender is Peru, right now.
Just making steady progress.
Yep, and actually Brazil helps them against the French, which
Sure.
is really odd considering what was
It's
going
just-
on elsewhere.
Yeah, I suspect trying to get them demilitarized stuff, and then Peru's just like, oh, thanks for the support, buddy.
Yep, and takes just goes in everywhere around them anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it makes sense. I think they maybe wanted Peru to tap this so that they could disband the British fleet here. Although I don't know why you would feel that strongly about disbanding the British fleet here. I guess if Peru does actually like demilitarize this area, then you just easily take this on the next turn, right? Because you've got 1, 2, 3 on it. But feels a bit like wishful thinking, hoping that will happen. And over here, we're seeing Peru continue to help out Chile. They support this into the last center of Argentina.
Unfortunate. R.I.P.
Yep. And you know that Peru is feeling great about this because this center isn't cored, right? There's no way that Chile can really get units close to their line without alerting you in some way. So
Yes.
yeah. And this is
A
pulling all
very
the
safe,
Brazilian
secure
units.
border.
Sorry, say that again?
It was a nice, safe, and secure border.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Right. So that's kind of it for South America. I don't think Peru got anywhere near enough centers to be competitive for the win right there, right? They're on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I guess 12. I don't know whether that one counts.
I think it does. I bet it counts.
It probably
So that's
does.
competitive.
Yeah.
They can walk into a center, but then they can take the other center from Brazil. That gets them to 14. Yeah.
Yeah. It gets them
They
very
just gotta
close.
get one extra dot somewhere. That's doable, man.
Mm-hmm. But they're not as close as the 14 that we've seen in 2 different theaters so far.
That is true. The 14 in Asia looks like the biggest threat. I do think that the Confederacy is going to get stopped.
Yeah.
And so I suspect that Peru is likely to win before the Confederacy does.
Man, though, if the 14 in Asia happens, then
Yeah.
Britain blacks out, and then Confederacy just wins here, right? Because
If that was why it was so important that we checked out the East Asia theater right now, because if England was at 15 and if these British units just all held, then the Confederacy is guaranteed 15 next year, and there's no stopping.
Yes, absolutely. So as Confederacy, you probably really just want England to win fast here. Obviously, it takes away your chance of being first winner, but looking at this, I don't know that that's possible from this position. It really had to be this turn, and there wasn't a possible way to do it this turn, as it turns out. Alright, so...
Yeah, like, given that you can't win, and from the Confederacy's perspective, they really can't win, then you want to get second at least, and so you'd rather the people got out of your way.
Yes.
So it made a lot of sense.
Precisely. Alright, so if we move across, let's have a look at Africa real quick. And I do kind of mean quick on this because it doesn't look like there's a whole lot going on. I see
Yay. Alright, next
two
theater.
areas of conflict. I see England attempting to get into KHA and failing, and I see the Ottomans managing to take Algeria because the French flip on the English, presumably because the English went into their centre here without agreement. So, overall, good news for the Ottomans, but at the end of the day, one centre changes hands, right? In the entirety of the African theatre here. I guess England and Spain swapped these two as well.
Counts.
Yeah. So, let's go ahead up to Europe then, for our last theatre of this phase. Well, things not looking great for Prussia still, I think, is the story of this. Man, it's a costly misguess on Prussia's part as well. They could have walked in here. I think that's Bakhchisaray. But they try and go for Warsaw, which honestly is kind of sensible. You would much prefer to knock the Russians out of the area close to you than just have a random unit in the backline here. But it doesn't go through, and they're losing Hamburg at the same time, right? Yeah. Just kind of painful.
Yeah, I recommend against misguessing as well.
Yes. Ezio never misguesses.
That is definitively not true. But I recommend against doing it.
Yes.
Okay. I don't recommend my own misguesses either. Oof.
We're seeing kind of an interesting dynamic here with the Italians as well, which is that they have too many fleets to be in the alliance configuration that they're in, right? They are hard aligned with the Ottomans, which means they're not going for this coast right here. But where do their fleets go? They're kind of just stuck on here, on this coast. They can't really go inland. Well, they definitely can't go inland. This one can help out by getting to there. But then they're stuck with just these armies that are all kind of crammed into the same area and stuck behind one another. It's... as Italy, honestly, here, I'd be looking for any way to just snag dots, changing the... maybe changing the alliance structure up a bit. Like, if I knew this was happening, I'd probably just walk into Budapest here. I'm curious whether you agree with that assessment.
Do I agree that Italy should take whatever dots they can? Consequences be damned?
Yes, exactly.
Wow, I've never heard someone say something that I agree with so fundamentally. That's just absolutely 100%. Why wouldn't they?
Yep. It's tough as well though, because like you're not really positioned to follow up on an attack here because these are all fleets, and you really want armies in this region. But right now, like, you need to get moving in order to stay competitive, I guess, is the big thing.
Well, I mean, you've kind of missed your window to be competitive.
Yeah, but actually, I mean, the European theatre is probably going to take the longest to resolve of any of the ones that we've looked at.
Who cares about the European theatre? The other theaters are going to win. You're going to get like 4th place at best.
Yeah, but that's better than last place, right? It's better than not winning.
Sure.
Alright, okay, so, if I think that about brings our analysis of this turn to a close, was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I think we can go to the next phase and see who wins the game. Oh, sorry, it's going to be winter first.
Yeah. So if we go... Oh, that's me moving the map to the side a bit. So here we have the winter phase, so you'll see no regions are blacked out here. No one got the win in this year. So we can go straight ahead to the following phase. I think we can skip the builds, right? That's probably fine.
Yeah, I don't think we have to go super deep on it, in depth on any build analysis.
Yes. I guess maybe an interesting thing is that the Confederacy builds no fleets. Which... Yeah.
I love it.
I love it in a sense, and I also hate it, because, yeah, you're sprinting for the victory, so you need those armies, right? But in the long term, you kind of need the fleets. I mean, you're never going to get the chance to build again, because if you do build, you've won. So...
I think a strong argument is that fleets are kind of overrated.
Mhm.
And you're not going to take any new centers with fleets, right, from this Confederate position, right? Like, do you think you're going to, if you put down 3 fleets, maybe you can take, like, Havana or Cuba or something? But I think Spain has enough fleets in the Caribbean, you're not really going to contest them there. So what
Yeah.
centers are you going to get? You're going to get, like, Chihuahua or, like, Guadalajara, and you're going to maybe sacrifice a couple of centers that are coastal in the east, true, but trying to get play to gain centers, not to not lose centers usually. Um, that said, yeah, you're going to lose a lot of centers here.
Yeah.
Maybe a fleet in Houston would have been correct, but Houston's the most useful province in the West.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know,
you
man.
kind of need the army there. It's tough. Like, yeah, fleets here would have felt terrible. But given you
Yeah.
convoying this anyway, probably could have been a fleet.
No, 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 no. Convoys are great.
um, yeah, and you're right that this, like, the Spanish dominance of here is surprisingly strong, and actually something we didn't talk about last turn. The Spanish took this dot right here, and they also managed to get an additional dot in Europe, right? I think they lost a ton in the Philippines, but they just kind of disbanded everything in that area. So the Spanish aren't going down at all, which you really hope that they were, right, as the Confederacy there.
As the Confederacy, yeah, but
Yep. Uh, so it all looks kind of tough. I do love what they're doing here, right? Which is basically just, I assume this is negotiated on disentanglement, right? To get this unit out of Egypt. Apparently, that is actually Egypt. This was a
yeah.
comment that we had a lot on the last video, and blows my mind. There is actually a place in the United States called Egypt. But yeah, anyway, they're
Yeah,
disentangling with
apparently it's called
England.
Little Egypt.
Yes,
Sure.
Little Egypt. Sorry, you are correct. But the important thing is they are disentangling with the English in the hopes that the English units all turn neutral at the end of this year. And I think that is the winning play from them here, because if in order to win, you have to rely on England winning this theatre. That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah. I
Yep.
mean, they're not like Confederacy ain't winning anytime soon, so
Yeah.
that's rough. All right, let's check South America. See if Peru's getting there.
Alright. Yeah, and it looks like they're gaining down here. They are losing up north. They get
Looks
pushed.
like they're popping that army though in MNS,
Ooh, you are absolutely correct.
and then Suck is adjacent to LMA, so they're gonna get that dot as well.
Yes, they have been sitting next to that for some time. I think they might be waiting for an opportunity where they can just walk into multiple Chile centers. Like, if they were in SPO, it would be really nice if they could hit, like, a third one. But I assume that would be a bit too overt, bringing the fleet down here. You can't really get away with saying, hey, Chile, I think you need an extra fleet reinforcing you here. Actually, no, you totally can, because Brazil just brought their fleet down into the South Atlantic. You should just say that and come here and then walk into one of their dots. But, yeah, they are getting that. They needed 3, right? I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is 1 minus 1, potentially plus 1 here. Yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't look like they're winning either, unfortunately.
uh,
They aren't in position to take ASU.
I think they can at least take this stop back, and in the full turn.
Yeah, I agree, but that's still only +2. I don't see them getting number 3 anywhere.
Yeah, I think I agree. So yes.
Unless there was this, is MANE that Spanish dot? That's part. Is that part of this? I think it might be.
This one up here?
Yeah, MAN.
Well, let me
I
bring up
think
the
it is.
link on map again. Here we go.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is just about.
So that's the edge of it, and because they can take that, they have two on it, and Spain can't support it because they can cut. Well, they rely on England to cut the Caribbean Sea. Actually,
Oh, yes.
interesting.
And of course, England's not going to
Hmm.
do it if it's going to interrupt their win, right? Or get there first.
Yeah, we can see what's happening. I mean, different players, right?
Hmm. Yes, that's true. Uh, well, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. Is there anything else you want
Yeah.
to say for this region?
Now let's go check Asia.
Okay, let's have a look at what's going on in Asia then. Russia walks into Kabul this time around, which is interesting. I assume defending it because Russia is definitely still working with England in other regions, right? Yeah, they are. It looks like they're coordinating quite closely. Uh, oh no, they are working with China here.
Hmm.
Huh.
What?
So did Russia flip on England?
Is Russia controlled by two players, one in the east and one in the west?
That's very possible. They
That
count
seems
as a
like
colonial power, so yes, I would assume so.
okay.
In which case, I guess this would make more sense. Although it doesn't look like the English did anything to like warrant being stabbed by Russia here. They just decided,
Who's gonna win?
yeah.
England's at 14 centers, and Russia's like, I don't want you to win. Actually, it might even be the same person. It might them just saying, I don't want you to win this game already. I need to slow you down so you can't win. I am happy to work with you in this theater where you're not winning, but this theater you're about to win the game. I'm sorry, I will try to stop you.
Yeah, I think that's
That's
very
reasonable.
fair, and it looks like it might actually work, right?
I mean, let's check and see what Spain's doing, right? Because wasn't Spain throwing last phase?
Yes, but they kind of already did, right? And actually, they've turned around here. They try and support Japan into this center right here. I wonder if the throw wasn't agreed? Like, maybe England told them to do specific moves and then took advantage of it to take the dots?
I
Um,
mean, maybe, but those specific moves look a little bit suspicious, all right?
yes. You can see the Ottomans even are coming in to assist here and taking taking, I think that's Batavia in this region. Um, wow. So it is kind of a worldwide effort right now to stop the Brits here.
All right.
Russia, China, Japan, Spain,
Jeez,
France,
everyone is so
Ottoman.
close to 15. That's exciting.
Yeah, it really is. It's one hell of a race. It's kind of interesting how exciting it is because usually in diplomacy, when there's like someone who's so far ahead that it's like you're wondering, okay, can we stalemate them, or is the game gonna end in a solo? Here instead, I don't think anyone's focusing on the idea of stalemating anyone. They're just going, I need to slow you down a little bit so that someone else can win somewhere else, right? First.
Yeah, it's an
Um,
interesting dynamic that you can have multiple people who are all simultaneously very close to winning. In
yes.
standard diplomacy, only one person is ever close to winning in the explicit game sense, right? The 18 supply centers. You don't have two people often who are both like, ooh, is are they gonna win? This game, rules is written, we have a bunch of people that all could theoretically win the game pretty soon. Not even like, oh, it requires huge misplays from one side or the other. Because, like, instead of diplomacy, okay, if two people are like 16-16 ish, one side could misplay and then give a win to the other. But here, everyone's playing pretty well, and yet there's a bunch of potential winners, which is a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
And,
And
like, winners, right? Not just like a draw, like winners, winners.
yeah, and it's interesting also in how it contrasts with the other world map variant that we often play, obviously Imperial, in that that game has multiple winners quite often too, right? But those are winners who are allowed to win together. And that's a huge difference with this variant because in this variant you are always at odds with the other players who are racing you for that win because you want first place, right? And you cannot share first place with another player. Um, one way or
Yep.
another, you have to fight them for it. In some circumstances, it may be beneficial for you to allow them to win. For example, if you're not going to win unless they black out. But generally speaking, I really like the dynamic that it's creating here. It's very interesting and very different.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you have to say about Asia here?
Um, Not too much. Just that I really do respect the Russia's hustle to say no. Actually, I'm not going to let you win here. I think that's good play. They've been at war with China for a long time, and it seems like they managed to get it together to fight the board leaders.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And I agree with like what they're doing here in the sense, or I agree with what China's done here in the sense of making that deal because it does actually get rid of that incredibly painful unit. And they must have done it in retreats on the previous turn, right? Because it retreated to Tibet and not to this province or this province in here, which would have been horrendous. Alright. So let's go ahead and look at... Let's go Africa first here.
Sure.
So we will look at the, 6 armies that are still here. It looks like there's a 7th coming in. So there is something happening. But realistically, the only thing that happens is this unit gets forced back. I think.
Cool.
Yep. Alright, that's our Africa coverage for this turn.
Yeah. All right, let's go look at Europe.
Man. Alright, so looking at Europe here, anything stand out to you immediately?
Nothing immediately. I mean, still bad news, Prussia. But it doesn't look like it's that bad. I mean, why did Russia move? Okay, move question. Why did Russia move into? I want to say Budapest from I guess Bohemia.
Uh,
Just
you
they're
know
worried
why
about a
I
Vienna
think they
step?
did that? I think they did that because of exactly what we were saying on the last turn. It makes sense for Italy to just snipe these centers if Russia is moving away.
Sure.
So they probably got paranoid and covered.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the only reason because they are still advancing against Prussia right here.
Yeah. It looks like it's probably just paranoia.
Yep. And I do wonder whether, given that Russia has flipped on England here, they are gonna start working with Prussia once they get this dot and try and push the English out of this region. I don't know how easy that will be. England did manage to retake control of the North Sea, which is probably going to retreat into one of these two, which is going to be a bit of a pain for them. But, hey, it's an option, right?
And we haven't done a center count, but nobody's even like a little bit close to winning in this theater, right?
Yes, like everything's so even, you can just tell there's no one close here.
Sure.
Okay. I think actually England has the most centers of anyone in this theatre.
With
One,
like
two,
7.
3, 4, 5, 6. I think that one counts.
Is 6
No,
really the most?
maybe 7.
How much does Italy have?
Italy has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, they probably are the leader. Honestly, I underestimated the amount of centers that are in this region.
Yeah, they're all very small, super dense.
And with that in mind, I would like to say, Italy, please dot people more. You're actually so close. But hey, they would have been counted if they'd done the move that I would have recommended here, so maybe it makes sense for them to do what they're doing. Alright, so anything else you want to talk about in Europe here? Oh, I'm wrong. This unit isn't going to get to retreat. It pushed into Hamburg here. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Yeah, sorry. Anything else you want to say here?
Um, Not about Europe. I mean, who really cares about Europe?
Um
Let's go back to the exciting theaters.
I mean, we've
Next phase.
covered the exciting theatres
Yeah,
this
next
turn.
phase. Yeah. Let's
Alright.
see the important ones.
Yeah.
I want to know what happens, Captain Me.
Which important theatre do you want to look at first?
I guess South America was most likely to produce a winner, right? So let's double check it.
Alright. So we see
Okay.
Peru manages to hold the center. They take, I think this is Caracas, right?
Yeah.
They walk into
Because they
LA.
did it, I guess, with the support, so they support held into the thing, sure.
Yeah. They do
Oh,
walk in here.
looks like there's some misadjudication down in the south, right? It
Uh
looks like or does the army just walk? I
oh,
see
so
URA support something,
yeah, this is
but
supporting that. So the
the
way that
unit didn't take
supports
the move.
work on this is the arrow isn't actually there inside the outline if the unit didn't take the support. So here the unit went this way instead.
Okay, and that's why it has the red, and then the red dot is because it wasn't take. It was a
Yes.
failed support or whatever.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Um, yeah, I mean, so it looks like Chile is also just throwing now, so that's
Uh,
fun.
yeah, I don't know whether it's throwing. Remember, they only lose one dot to Peru here, and that might not have been
Yeah,
agreed. They do still have their northern border.
I
Um,
have a stricter definition of throw, I think, than a lot of people do, and I think letting someone win is throwing, even if you are not letting them take your centers explicitly.
yeah,
I think
that's
that throwing is to not fight the winner.
that's probably fair. I think we'll see what happens because Peru doesn't win this phase, right? They have what
Probably not,
one,
no.
two, three, four, five, six, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh my god.
Yeah, because they didn't take MAN, because France successfully supported that to hold, or
That's
Mexico did, excuse
Mexico.
me.
Wow.
Sorry, good job, Mexico. But because they successfully support that to hold, the game didn't end. But like,
hmm
as Chile, like, why aren't you attacking Lima, Peru, anyways? Right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
At this
Brazil's
point.
offering to help you. Brazil gets it. Like, come on. But it's fine, right? Not everyone's doing it, so that's okay.
It's possible they
But
felt a sense
yeah,
of loyalty to Peru, right? But I do wonder if this strains the loyalty to the point that they flip on the next turn.
yeah, maybe.
We'll see how that goes. But yeah, one dot off. Pretty impressively close.
Another one. Yep, another one daughter.
Oh, man. There wasn't anywhere they could have picked that dot up, right?
I see no guesses they could have made this phase
If
for the
they
win.
had gone Papua New Guinea into SPO last turn, then they could have picked it up from here. But,
Yeah, but and actually that's very significant because I don't right. There is no move that no, but then Peru then excuse me, Chile would probably have taken the support into SIT, right?
oh, almost certainly,
SLT.
yes.
You
Yeah,
got to assume.
that's very fair.
So maybe there's nothing.
Aye. Well, very close. And then if we look at North America, we'll probably see another quite close. Oh,
I
actually,
don't think it's
no.
going to be that close.
They're getting decimated,
They're
eh?
getting their asses kicked.
Oh.
Ow.
So the
Oof.
Confederacy lose 1, 2, 3 here.
Ow.
They don't lose ML, whatever
Yeah, they
this
do.
province is, because this.
Isn't that? But no, but it's a Mexican unit.
Oh,
In there.
sorry, it is a Mexican unit. You're absolutely correct. They were trying to support the Spanish into the Mexican unit. The Spanish said, nope, I'm going to go defend my centers, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And Spain is actually doing surprisingly well here now, because they also just walked into the French dot. So they gain,
Yeah.
they gain 1 on the grand scheme of things here, and they're now on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Quite the recovery.
And it's fun because MER is now a core, so they could like put an army down or a fleet or something over here.
Oh man, yeah, that is also true. And they're unlikely to lose this center because Mexico has to hold it to stop Peru winning the game.
Yeah.
That's, man, alright, so bad news for the Confederacy. They are going down 3 supply
I
centers.
found like 10 or something.
Sorry, 4 supply centers, yeah. So they are down to
Yeah.
10. Suddenly. Oh, it was so close, and yet...
So far,
Mm-hmm.
close gets only accounts in horseshoes and hand grenades, Captain Meme.
Right. I feel like I've heard that phrase before, but I have no idea what it means. This is...
What do you think? What does it mean?
I mean, it means that close doesn't matter. But
Yeah, close doesn't matter unless you're playing. Unless you got a hand grenade, in which case the explosion is pretty big, so you can get it close, and that gets you there.
But why are you throwing your hand grenades at horseshoes?
You're not. Horseshoes is a game that you play, where you want your horseshoe to be close to the peg as possible.
Okay, I've never played that game. I guess
Oh my god.
this is probably more common in a country that has more horses.
Sorry, what? You haven't played horseshoes?
No, I've never played horseshoes. I want to.
I don't know if I've ever actually played it myself. Now that I mention it, but like, I know how it works. Anyways.
All right. Yeah.
Sure.
Anyway, this is very beside the point. As mentioned, we have a limited amount of time to talk about things today, and we're gonna waste it discussing horseshoes.
We're making such good pace, Captain Nate. It's been like only an hour or something.
We really are. Yeah. I mean,
we've been booking it after that first phase. We really got our got it together.
Yeah, sorry for the people who want really super long form analysis on these. I think generally for a map this big, we're probably going to have to stick to analysis like this in the future if we want to cover absolutely everything that's going on in every theatre, right? Just because it takes so long otherwise. You saw from part 1, right? But hey... So, bad news for the Confederacy here. Is there good news for another power? Is another power getting close to the solo? With...
How big has England gotten in this theater, by the way?
They are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 now, I think.
Okay, not a worry. I know issues.
Yeah, and Mexico is on, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... 7 as well? I don't know if this is... Oh, this is a dot, so 8. Yeah. So everyone in North America seems to be a ways away from the solo right now. Threat successfully contained. Sorry, North America, yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, jolly well done. Alright, where do you want to look next? Got a few different options.
Yeah, let's East Asia, right? Or Asia in general. Let's do it.
Yep. All right. Oh, Himalayas is finally taken out here by the Russian unit and the Chinese collaborating. That's gonna really hurt England because that was their barrier against units getting into this region.
Yeah. Plus the stuff gets uncored now, right? Or I guess stuff was already uncored because of what's it called? Because of that unit.
SND.
But yeah.
But yes.
That's also very annoying from your point. The stalemate that England had over here is now gone.
Yep. And the Russians actually get in down here as well, so that's a lot of progress made against the English this turn, it looks like. Over here, the English do manage to retake Perth, but they lose Brisbane.
Yeah, I mean, England loses Brisbane, they lose 2 centers on the mainland because they lost Kabul plus Hanoi. I think Hanoi, whatever.
They gained 1 here, it looked like, so...
Yeah, but then they also lost one of the islands, right?
Yeah...
There's the green one in the south, the one to the Ottomans.
Oh, yes, of course, this one right here. Aye. So yes.
So, I mean, it's not the worst turn we've seen because they still have units in position, but it's also not a good turn.
Yep. It does feel like every region, got very, very, well, both of, I say every region, I mean Asia and North America got very, very close to a sprint win, and everyone got their act together and immediately countered it, and that has prevented the win in both regions, and actually now the big threat is this one, because Peru, no one has really gotten their act together against now. Which is super exciting to see.
And in this region, notably, Peru's got many fewer neighbors than the Confederacy did or than England did. Peru's got 3, basically. Spain to the north, Brazil to the east, and Chile to the south. And Chile might care, or might not care, but isn't particularly strong. And I don't even know if Chile can really contest if Peru goes for South Pacific and the ocean provinces to the west, right? Like, I don't know if Peru popped anytime soon, is what I'm saying.
Yep. I agree. And should be noted, it's not because they started with fewer neighbors, right? It's because they've been able to eliminate 2 of the players who were in this region.
To fully eliminate, not just weaken to get small.
Yes. I think that was really good play on Peru's part, especially getting rid of Colombia when they did, because they had kind of a rock-solid alliance with Colombia in the very early game, if we think back to our last commentary on this, and then just went all in on the stab and managed to completely, pretty brutally eliminate them very early, which we can see is paying huge dividends right now. Alright, so... anything else you want to talk about in Asia? Do you want us to do a count here or not bother?
I don't think it's bother with the count. England's not soloing, that's the important part.
Oh, this might be important. It looks like China is attacking Japan.
Yeah, but like... Japan caught it?
Yeah, maybe it's an agreed attack where they're going like... I'll throw a support hold unless you attack it with 2, just to make sure I'm not doing anything dodgy here. Would make sense given them moving this unit away, but actually that unit could be covering against a retreat.
Yeah, it looked like they were trying to smack it, but then realized, oh, if I force the retreat, then they're going to go into my dot. I think China remembered the earlier retreat that they gave Russia, and didn't want to deal with something like that again.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
They're like, not this time. I will learn.
Yep. If China actually did stab Japan there, there's gonna be an interesting fight, because it's not one I think China can win. China has only got 1 fleet on this coast. Well, they've got a second down here, I guess. But that kind of needs to be focused against England to stop England winning the game.
Yeah, and trying to conquer Japan with only 1 fleet seems like a challenge.
Maybe they thought they were in range of the dot count they needed, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They are not close, but it's possible they're just thinking now's my time to sprint for the win to try and get it before England does. In which case, I mean, this is a very dot-concentrated area, but you're gonna need those fleets. So, I'll be interested to see how they try and do that. Alright. So, sorry, anything else you want to talk about here?
No?
Okay. So, let's move back to our 2 neglected regions here. Well, perhaps our most neglected region, Africa. How does Brazil still own this?
Who's gonna take?
Yeah, I mean, they have 2 fleets adjacent now. That's kind of impressive. But yes. And then we just have Ottomans pushing in full force, and this war between France and England at this point, like, France is moving their armies backwards to take English provinces, so Ottomans are just steamrolling now. It's a very, very slow steamroll, because there aren't that many units in the area, and they're focusing a lot of supports on stuff. But they are rolling. They are getting there, right?
Progress!
Yeah.
Go, go, go!
And then if we move up to Europe here, well, anything you want to look at in particular here first?
These colors are so small, man.
This is quite often the problem with Europe, right, on these big world maps, is that the the provinces in Europe tend to be quite squashed compared to some of the others. You can see
Yeah.
everything here is kind of large and easy to spot, whereas here they're a little too compressed, maybe. Um, but yeah.
I mean, Italy's making progress against France, which looks solid for Italy. Just make slow, steady progression.
Hmm.
Russia's bringing another unit to the Balkans, which is neat.
Hmm.
Um, Prussia is down to like 2 centers or something.
Yeah, France actually moved into Amsterdam. I think the Hamburg is a center, and they did manage to hold that, so they actually have
Okay,
three.
sure.
Um, but England got a convoy off onto the continent as well. Uh,
Looks like in the Brussels, which I assume is
yeah.
also a center.
I
So
think so. Yes.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, and England is in whatever is that Bay of Biscay or something?
Yes.
BIF, yeah.
France does manage to snipe Lisbon, but so England isn't purely positive here. But then you gotta remember that England can fund their war effort from places like this, right? If they
I
really
don't think they're
want
gonna
to.
try to win in North America.
How close are they? They're like one.
They were at
They're
like
on
8,
7 or something. Yeah.
yeah, 7 or 8, and like the Confederacy is way overextended and fighting way too many fronts. It doesn't have enough fleets to defend anything, right? So
Yeah, it
yeah, it
might be
looks like they're
worth
just gonna
doing.
push.
They do have to like think, am I gonna be able to win this theater here, or is this just a
Nah,
losing battle at this point?
yeah, Asia's lost. I wouldn't even bother anymore.
Hmm.
Like, make some defensive core so you can still have influence in the region, but you're not. No more building in there. No more building there anymore.
Yes, I think that's fair. And it's so upsetting having been so close, but yeah, when people get their act together to this degree, it's kind of incredible. Although I do wonder why the Ottomans didn't just slip into Bombay. uh, Maybe they thought this would cover it. But yeah,
Hmm.
so over here, it feels like Italy is still the closest to winning, given the supply center counts. They do take a dot here, so they can now build. And as you mentioned, they are pushing in on France. Um, but hey, maybe England can make something happen too. I really don't
Yeah,
know
I
where I
want.
focus as England.
Yeah, I mean, you can keep doing well in both because it's not like England is losing, right? The only region that England is losing in is in Asia, and I think it's important for England actually to keep their centers occupied so they can be piffing units in Asia with the retreats as they lose the centers. Because again,
Yes.
you're not winning. You want those units elsewhere, so you don't want to lose centers and have them sit around. Because you want to be able to build in North America, you want to be able to build in Europe, and where you're making gains. And so you don't want to have this lopsided situation where you've got 12 units and only 7 centers, which I could easily see happening.
Yeah.
So that's a fun dynamic to keep track of.
Absolutely. It's kind of interesting in the African region as well, right? This is a place where England has. I mean, they have some units that I question the value of, but they are. So these three together are holding one center, right? And then this one, well, these two, I suppose, are holding one, two, three, four between them. Although one of them
Well,
just
only
was
three
lost.
now.
Yeah. Uh, so yeah, the dynamic of how many units you have versus centers in a specific region is always super interesting. And if you are losing a region, yeah, quite often it helps for you to throw your armies onto the front line to try and make sure they get disbanded. Uh, because otherwise you end up with a bunch of units in an area where you have no centers and they're costing you builds in a region that you really need them. Um,
Yeah, and
okay.
it sometimes works and is good if they can potentially regain centers because most variants it's your global center supply count,
Mhm.
whereas this is a unique variant where each region has its own supply count for the purposes of determining when, which means you have to treat it very differently. It's not just which unit is going to give me the highest value supply center, like most likely to get me supply center. It's which unit gets me the most important supply centers.
Yes.
So is that a fun calculation?
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to talk about in Europe?
Hmm. No, but Europe is starting to get a little exciting now.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's coming to a point where we could see people start. I mean, obviously, people are focusing on trying to win, especially like Italy, who doesn't have a region elsewhere. But it's starting to look like it's coming to a point where they could start. That was such a convoluted sentence. Actually,
What?
trying for the win.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's go on to the next phase here. So that was supply centers changing hands. This was the winter phase. We're not going to look at the builds, but we can now look at the moves. Where do you want to go first?
I mean South America, right? Let's just see if Peru's gonna win the game this year.
All right. So what center are we looking at specifically that they could take?
Well, I mean, first it was checking to see if Chile attacks, and Chile did attack.
Yes.
So high level, that's not great news. And then it took SPO. So yeah, it looks like taking LMA was enough to induce Chile to flip, and now Peru got into whatever GCH, but they're not going to be able to take Asuncion. They didn't get into MGO, so and they didn't even try to take anything else. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Peru is going to win.
Yeah, again, it looks like people in the region have gotten their act together when someone got to 14 supply centers, right?
Yeah.
This is happening surprisingly often. Yeah. But yes, so this, and this pivot from Chile is absolutely brutal for them, right? They're moving into a lot of areas that Peru would not like them to be in, and if they push in on this coast, there's really not very many Peruvian units there. They're all kind of tied down on the Brazilian line right now. So, yeah. Man,
yeah, cool. Very exciting.
yes. And Peru's lack of fleets on this front, any kind of fleet support, makes it really difficult to break this line, actually. You can see that there's a mutual support hold going on between these two provinces. These two units can't push through, and even though Peru has 5 units in this region, they're all blocked behind each other. They need fleet support, and that's just not coming in. Right, they do manage to get into GCH, so they do have some pressure here.
They're making some progress, but they're not winning this year, I'll tell you that much.
Absolutely.
Alright, cool. Not this year. Next. What? God, where no one else is gonna win. God, how much longer do we have? I thought we were done.
Alright.
I guess let's check. I don't know. No one's winning in Asia, and I guess Africa. Is anyone gonna win in Africa?
Well, I mean, let's have a look at Africa.
How's Turkey doing? Come on, Turkey. You gotta Ottomans.
Free Ezio from his suffering. No, this has been fun to watch. Okay.
This is great. So they did get into LEO.
Yes.
That's big, and they got into KAM. Yeah. That's huge. And that's a fleet in KGO. So they're going to get BZZ.
Yep.
Okay. That's 2. How many centers does Turkey have over here? Isn't it like 7?
So it goes up to Constantinople here. I don't think it includes this dot right here. It did not
include that one. Wait, did it include Con, or was it just DAM and Baghdad?
I can bring the wing cons back up. We're gonna see this map solved. Oh no, you're right. It's only DAM and Baghdad.
Damascus, I guess.
Yes.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Plus these 2, they're going up to 9, 10. Alright, maybe they're gonna like snipe Madagascar. 11. Oh my god, this game is never gonna end. Alright, it's not gonna be here, but Turkey really does have dominant position here, finally.
Yes. And it,
Like, we can see just bringing all the armies to bear did the job.
I mean, you can see how much people are relying on, like, the Sahara here, for example, to be their defensive line. If Turkey just breaks through here, where's France's defense? There's so many centers over here. Yeah. They kind
Yeah,
of...
they have a bunch of units, and then they kind of cry, and they're not building anymore if they lose Sahara, so...
Yeah. Well, we'll see how that goes. I do wonder whether the French and English are going to try and unite now against the aggressor, because, like, this is... I know they're not going to get to 15 immediately, but this is a significant threat in the region. And England does have this army that's probably going to retreat here, so they could technically try and counter this move in, although if the Ottomans cut Lagos, then there's nothing they can do. Oh no, they can do something because they have 2 on Leo. Well, we'll see what happens with that. Alright.
Why did Samia hold?
Sorry?
The Turks have a unit in, like, Samia, right?
Zanzibar,
Yeah,
but it's
sorry,
not
that one, yeah.
Adjacent to Leo, right? It's,
Yeah, but why did it hold? Why didn't it just, like, take the Brazilian center?
I think because of this
Like, who cares?
French fleet potentially coming in.
I guess. Why do you care? Right? You moved your army into Somalia, right?
Maybe
So
they're
you walked
allied
your
with
army in there?
with Brazil. They don't want to bring Brazilian wrath against the African continent. Cause,
I see, because they, like, the Brazilian asserted dominance, took the center, said, "Don't make us take any more," and then convoyed their army back.
Yes. And since then,
yeah,
everyone
that's
has
scary.
gotten... Yeah.
Yeah, we all got the memo. Yep. We're not touching it. Okay, fair.
Because realistically, like, it's pretty painful for everyone here if Brazil convoys in and attacks any of them. Although at this point, obviously, England and France probably want the convoy in to help them defeat Ottomans, or at least stop Ottomans. But initially, when everyone was competing for this region, no one wanted Brazil there. So everyone's happy with them just being out. Yeah. Alright. Anything else?
Sorry, I got distracted. I got a message about diplomacy, and I'm gonna. Oh God.
Yes.
I'm gonna need to mute this conversation for a little bit. I'll mute for how much longer do you think? It's gonna be 3 hours. Let's say mute for 3 hours.
What, 3 hours from now? It's not gonna last 3 hours from now.
I've muted for 3 hours, CaptainMeme. You never know.
I appreciate your time. Thank you, Ezio, taking it away from probably
it's
Nexus
just that
games.
conversation is gonna be awkward to watch.
Okay, I
Totally.
see.
Yeah, no, this was on Discord, not on Backstabber. Now, my Nexus game communications are happening on Backstabber.
Okay, so was this the Olympus game?
This was the Olympus game.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's for another video. Okay, so...
It's for another video. Alright, we're back. Alright.
Right, so, Europe, Asia, or North Africa, which one do you want to look at?
Have we looked at North America yet?
We have not, no.
Great, let's go look at that one.
Okay. So we are seeing the English... So, interestingly, the English and the Russians are working solidly together in this region, despite the fighting elsewhere.
Yeah.
And the English are doing pretty damn well here. Like, they push into Egypt. They do lose whatever this one was as a counterpoint to that, but they are kind of surrounding everything here. And you can see they actually take the East Coast as well, which is going to be really painful.
Yeah, and slipping into Pennsylvania means they are guaranteed Richmond, right? So...
Oh, yes, there's nothing adjacent. Oh my god, that's...
Yeah, those two armies are not actually armies. And I'm not sure which ones the Confederacy started with, but I don't think Washington, D.C. is one of them.
It definitely is not, no.
Yeah, it's like, do they start with MTG, Atlanta, and CHA?
I think they start with these, so yeah, these two are not home
Sure.
supply
And then maybe like
centers.
Houston or something? I guess it'd be Houston.
It's something
Okay.
like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is gonna decore this area, and I mean,
Yeah.
that's just such a key province for the Confederacy to have now gone on the East Coast.
Yeah. And
They
they're never going to take it back because they only have the one fleet.
Man, and the Confederacy at this point has to be really hoping and praying that England wins somewhere else, but I think this might now just be, as you mentioned earlier, the region that England focuses on because they're doing so well here.
And they're not going to win in Asia, and winning in Europe looks impossible. So,
Yep.
yeah.
So suddenly the hopes of all of these English units disappearing is completely fading.
Yeah.
So upside for them, it looks like Mexico broke an agreement with Russia here by going in the opposite direction, right? They are not leaving California. So they may be gearing up to fight north, which I think is sensible if you realize the Confederacy is losing so much, right? But it looks like they're not easing off the Confederacy much either. They are getting a unit into position to tap this one. They can then they can take Houston at the same time. It's just generally going to be another.
Sorry, how did you pronounce that?
Houston? Is that? Oh no! Please don't tell me I'm pronouncing that one wrong as well.
Houston.
Okay, Houston.
Houston.
Sorry. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Houston.
Fine. Can I just call that province Austin? And wait, is Austin even there? It's probably in this one, isn't it? Oh my god.
I don't know enough about Texan geography to risk getting shot.
Okay, fine. All right.
I think Austin is there. I'm pretty sure, but I think it's actually kind of close between that West Texas line.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think it's like on the line to like the west ish. Anyways.
Yep. Right.
Oh my god.
Okay. So let's. Is there anything else here you want to look at?
Nah, just like it's a fun tactical war in the east. Just one that I'm pretty sure England is getting the upper hand in.
Yeah.
I mean, losing New York is annoying for sure, but like now it depends on where that retreat is. You kind of wherever you retreat that fleet as the Confederacy means you're losing centers because you're either going to lose Washington D.C. or that one, Charleston.
That
or
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and like New York City is still at risk because Pennsylvania can also you don't actually Pennsylvania's taking Richmond, but yeah, it's like you have to retreat, I guess, then to whatever TID is, and then guess right.
Yep.
Cool.
Well, yeah, we'll see how that goes. I did just notice as you were talking about that I think the Confederacy tried to like stop a self bounce here by pulling this unit out of the Gulf of Mexico, which would have been quite funny, but I don't think it's happening. It might also have just been an agreement that they said, hey, please move Gulf of Mexico away, I'm not a threat to you anymore. And Spain went...
Yeah, Spain said, I can take Key West. I will do that.
Indeed. Okay, so that leaves us with Europe and Asia. Let's go Europe first.
Sure.
Oh, I love this. Nice one, Italy. Convoying over into Catalonia here.
Sure. While bringing their fleet to the west means they've got good potential for Madrid.
Yeah.
But it looks like Russia made a move on Italy.
Ooh, and it's a big move. There's Italy does have the defenses against them on Vienna, but not down in the southern region, and they have a lot of dots along this line.
Nor on Trieste, right?
Yeah, actually, they can be knocked out of here immediately. No,
Sure,
it's a bit of a guess.
Right.
Yeah,
yeah, because of
Vienna
the nonsense.
Budapest.
But then there's a guess between them doing that or just going for MNR.
Yeah,
What do we think that is?
I was gonna say Macedonia, but I think Greek people get annoyed if you call that region Macedonia, so I'm gonna say I don't
But
know.
how would MNR be mess? Wouldn't it be like
Oh no, is it Montenegro maybe?
Montenegro? I
Oh
think
no,
is
it's
reasonable.
sorry, it's got to be a city because it's a dot, and all the dots here are city names. I don't know any
Yeah,
cities
that
in
that
this
sounds
region.
like we're
Um, so yeah, if you know what this dot is, post it in the comments. There we go. We got the comment baited. Perfect.
we've been commentating this entire video, Captain Meme. With like all
Okay.
of our mispronunciations and city names. That's why we didn't look it up. Like Captain Me mentioned it, and I was just like, we shouldn't.
uh, God. All right. Well, this is my first deliberate comment bait. Anyway.
Great.
Uh, Right, so, yeah, Italy making great moves on this front. This is suddenly a massive problem, though. I was earlier criticizing Italy's alliance with the Ottomans. I thought that these dots were going to be important for them to take. I actually think at this point it's kind of important that they have the Ottomans on side, but,
And it's important. Are those Northern African dots part of Europe? Do they count for the win condition?
hang on. Wing condition map. Here we go.
They do.
They do.
Oh, that makes it a lot different. I assumed that those didn't count, in which case it's Italy. Yeah, just completely get rid of them.
Mhm.
But no, they count. All right, they may be important.
Yeah, but keeping
Wow,
the
it's
Ottomans
just
on
like
side here is actually going to be really important if you're counting on that to retain these centres. The problem is, as Ottomans here, I would go, well, you know, Russia is someone who's stuck by me for the entire game and they've got a fleet in Black Sea. I kind of need to show my support and maybe dot you in Athens. um,
yeah. I mean, plus, Sicily is an African center,
yes.
um, or whatever PLR is. But
Palermo, I
that's what it
think.
is. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. And so that's a dot that, as Turkey, I would be incredibly excited about taking. And so something like convoying into Athens and then moving into Ionian to try to mess with it seems very reasonable.
Yep.
Or just like walking into Ionian and then putting a fleet down in Tripoli and then going from there. Does Ionian border Naples? I don't
No,
think
it
so.
does
I think it
not.
just
Not
borders
in this.
Apulia. That's a weird map line. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
Jeez, Naples is a stronghold.
the nice thing about what's going on down here in Africa, of course, is because there's so few units in here from everyone, you can focus some of your builds up in Europe if you really want to, and you'll still probably be completely fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we'll see how that goes for them. On the northern front, we are seeing England making slight progress, right? They get into Brest. Doesn't look like anyone else really gets anywhere on this front. So very slow progress. Although there's a lot of rejigging units from the Russians, and I would not be surprised if this is gonna be a continued attack into England now that they've finished working with them. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Actually, Russia's incredibly well positioned here, right? They've got units all across their front line all of a sudden. They're positioned to take Berlin and to push into Stockholm at the same time, and then immediately to pivot on Copenhagen. So,
Oh, yes.
yeah, quite the comeback from Russia here. I have to say I'm impressed considering how things went earlier, right?
They did not look like they were in good shape.
Mhm. Yes, absolutely. Alright. So that leaves us with Asia, unless there was anything else you wanted to talk about in Europe.
No, I think Europe's good. It's
Okay.
very exciting.
Then that leaves us with Asia. We can have a look at how things are going here. Looks bad for England so far. They're getting pushed back into defending their Indian territories, right? And I don't see them making any gains here. It's just like desperation trying to defend what they have. Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah, but it's not going well, right? Just too much coordination from too many people you can't hold.
Absolutely. Japan convoying this unit into PLW at the same time as they're getting attacked up here, right?
Yeah.
It looks like they didn't believe that the Chinese were really attacking them after the last phase of the hit on Vladivostok. Yeah. And suddenly, that attack is very real.
I mean, okay, it's a little real. It's not that real. Like, they're gonna lose, what, like 2 dots to this thing?
Yeah, that is actually true. They do get this
unit.
It's a
little real.
Oh, this unit is blown up. But yeah, the Chinese still only have 2 fleets, notably, and Japan can just walk into Hong Kong. Unless they send this fleet back this way. So, yeah, doesn't seem too bad for Japan, all things considered. But China really wants those dots, and it looks like they don't know where else they're going to get their dots from in order to win this thing. Yeah.
Yeah. How big is China? Isn't China like small still?
They were 8 or 9, I think. 1, 2, 3,
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
7, 8, 9, I think.
Okay, you know what? That's more than I thought they had.
Yeah.
And they stopped at 10 and 11. And then Russia's got to do a thing. Yeah, okay. Okay. That's something.
Yeah, I think notably Russia has been playing this really well in terms of trying to keep everyone away from the win, right? They flipped on England down here when that came along. They flipped on the Confederacy here and got their army into position when they were going close to the win. I would not be surprised at all to see Kabul to Uru if China actually is threatening the win in this area. So, yeah. Alright, and over here it's just a mess of like a million different fleets poking at things.
Yeah, but it's all poking, because nobody has like a fleet density in any particular region to crush.
Mm-hmm.
And then England moved their fleet from NOU somewhere south? Why? What?
Where is NOU?
Look at in the eastern side. Down...
I see. There. Into Tasmania.
Why? Why not at the CRL?
Is it to core these provinces?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, that Tasmania cores everything down here. Okay, that's cool.
That's probably it. They're going for, like, we can't win right now, but if we get enough builds from elsewhere and build fleets in this area, then we sweep back up and then we try and win. I feel like they'd be better off just building in this area, but hey, we'll see how it goes for them. Okay. Is that everything you have to say about this?
Yeah, not that much, I think.
Okay, well then let's move to the next phase. Here we go, moves. Let's start in South America again.
Yeah, I mean, we established that Peru's probably not winning, so...
Yeah, you can see a lot of support holding on this line, right? Yeah. It looks like Peru doesn't lose very much.
No, but they lost the center down south, and they're going to lose LMA next.
Ooh, yeah, okay, so this fleet is getting rotated back, and then they're putting 2 in this area. Yeah, Peru is in trouble.
Not as much trouble as a lot of the other winners were. That is important to note.
Yep.
But it doesn't look like Peru is going to win.
Yeah, this unit gets blown up as well up here, right? The English actually get supported into there by 2 Spanish units. But the, notably, no one is actually crushing them, which is the huge difference. And Brazil is going back to Africa, or trying to. So...
I do buy it. England recognized that the power was about to return, and they had to be kept away. Else the true
Indeed.
power in Africa would return and conquer it all.
We thought that they were going to retreat to BZZ. They didn't. They actually went down here,
Yeah.
to Southwest Africa, I think. So I assume Brazil looked at that and went, "Oh, you're going for
You
Cape
know what I
Town."
didn't notice was that KGO as a fleet bordered LEO. I missed that.
Yeah, they could have had some options if they had retreated here.
Well,
Uh,
even right, they could have supported themselves into LEO,
mhm.
right?
Oh, that is true. Yeah, although it would have retreated to BZZ, but
In this case, yeah.
oh,
If they
and
retreated to
it
be
wouldn't
to
have even
CCU.
retreated because there was a support hole on it. But
Yeah, but that's
yes.
where the support hold is relevant. But it also means that Turkey just took LAG, and there's now nothing to defend CCO.
Yep.
And BTA, like the fleet in KGO can only defend one of like BZZ, LEO, or BTA. So Turkey is just like crushing now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was saying that they needed to take Sahara to break this area. Apparently, they
Just let
don't
them
need
walk
to. They
out.
just walk into it and let them walk down south, and suddenly there's nothing on this entire front. You can just walk
And they
along
can
it.
still break it, right? Like France is going to be support holding themselves in Mogadishu for forever. So it's
Yeah.
like Turkey can absolutely support themselves into Sahara this next spring and use that to then take Mogadishu in the fall.
Yeah.
I don't think that's optimal. I think they're better off just like trying to take BTA and the other centers down here. But sweet.
Hmm. Interestingly, they don't actually go for Athens. They stay allied with the Italians, right? Which isn't direct. Well, I mean, it is the African theatre. That's not an African centre, but it is important in what
Yes.
they're focusing on. Uh, I think they really want to be left alone down here to do their own thing, and it seems like Italy is a pretty solid ally for them on that front.
Yeah. And again, right, in the African theater, Turkey is massive.
Yep. They are making all the gains, and maybe this is gonna, like, after we've neglected Africa
Finally.
for almost the entire game, maybe this is gonna be the one that wins it.
Because all the other ones, there's too much contention, right? We
Hmm.
were talking about this. We mentioned this a lot in the last episode. How if anyone actually got control of Africa, they're just going to continue to go.
Hmm.
And we were thinking it was going to be France to start because France's early position in the continent was powerful. But we saw Turkey started to make inroads on it, and I think the relevant part is no one can stop it.
Yeah.
No one can build here anymore, even if they want to. They don't have any cores. Right? I think there's literally one core from France, and I think that's the entire. There's also the one up in FRE near West
Oh
Africa.
yeah, Freetown here.
Yeah,
Yes.
but that's the only other core that's still a core. So at this point, how do you stop the Turk?
Yeah, there really isn't a way. It's like you just have to try and slow them down and hope you win
Yeah,
somewhere else first.
but oops, they've got fleets. They have two fleets on the eastern coast, so it's not like
Yeah.
those two Madagascar. Or sorry, excuse me, plus the fleet in the Indian Ocean. Right? They got
So
three fleets
they
now
can
to
tap
contest.
here and take Madagascar on the next turn. Uh,
Yeah.
yep. This is actually like rolling at this point. So they have what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They just took 9, 10.
And then Damascus and Baghdad.
I think I counted. Oh, I didn't
Big count.
count Baghdad. I think I counted Damascus, so 11.
Okay.
But yeah, so they are getting close. It's a question of how fast can they get there. Again, just
Well, it's not even that much of a race because everywhere else has been stopped.
yeah, absolutely true. I. All right. Well, what region do you
Yeah,
want to
that's
look
fun.
at next?
North America, I guess.
Okie dokie. So here we. Oh, they don't go for the free Richmond. They actually get bounced out of Washington D.C.
Uh, and then they went for New York City instead of whatever Charleston.
Yeah.
Very curious.
So
Huh.
it looks like they were going for the super high reward play of if this unit covers Charleston, we get all of this. But then New York also has to hit Toronto for that to happen because otherwise you lose this, which happens.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a painful set of guesses this phase, especially considering there was the guarantee. Oh, that wasn't a guaranteed dot. They had an army in Tennessee. That's
Oh,
why.
did we miss that?
I'm.
Can you go back to the previous phase real quick?
I bet that was knocked out of Egypt.
There was a retreat that we didn't notice.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, there was a retreat we didn't notice. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay,
okay.
cool.
In which case, not going for Richmond makes a lot more sense.
Um, yeah, but I, I guess, yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Fine.
Yes. I'm surprised that still counts as a core, given that this is red.
I suspect it'll get adjusted in the fall, right?
That's probably true. Yes. Okay. And what's happening elsewhere? Confederacy is getting absolutely wiped by Mexico on this front.
Yeah.
But they do manage to push back into LEC. They take the Russians out of that area, and they manage to retake STL. So, not a horrendous turn for them here. They also lose Key West though.
Seems like it could have been much worse than it actually was, but it's still not a great position. Right? They're not getting anywhere. They're just losing slowly.
Yes. Yeah. And other countries are now becoming very real threats to win this area. So Mexico, for example, and the UK, as we mentioned. And I think they're actually going to have to rely on Spanish support to try and stop the Mexican push at some point here. We'll see whether that happens or not.
Yeah.
Right. So, anything else you want to talk about in North America?
Mexico's position looks good too, right? Mexico's making steady progress, lots of gains. A little sad to not have any fleet control over the east, but hey.
Yep. You really want some fleets down over here. At the moment, they're kind of reliant on Spanish assistance, and that seems like a difficult thing to guarantee, especially once you start winning.
Yeah, exactly. It's always easy to get other people's support when you're small, and then there's the point where you have to be able to support yourself.
Yes. Alright, so that's North America done. We've already looked at South America, I think. And then we looked at Africa, we looked at... Did we look at Europe? We didn't look at Europe. Okay. So we do see the Russians pushing into Berlin here and going for Stockholm. It looks like nothing much happens on this entire front.
Yeah, good defensive play from Italy.
Yes.
Making all the right guesses.
And good negotiation play from Italy on keeping Athens from the Ottomans here, right? Ottomans clearly valuing non-aggression here. I don't know about moving this army back to Venice. That feels a bit odd.
Well, it crushed defensively, right?
Yeah, I mean, it worked out, but, like, it would have worked out if they kept the army here, too.
Yeah, but now it can support whole Trieste, I guess.
It totally can. Yes, you're right. Sorry, that is...
No risk of getting cut.
That's massive.
I mean, massive is maybe overstating it, but it's solid, alright? It gets the job done.
Well, previously Trieste could have kind of been guaranteed. They would have risked... Like, Russia would have risked Budapest to do it, but they could cut Vienna and support down into Trieste. Now they can no longer do that, right?
Yeah, it's just like the moves that Italy chose to make, right? Russia could have done a lot of different things that would have taken certainly one center and potentially been set up well, I think, next phase.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if Russia had, for example, just supported Budapest into Trieste anyways, and then had Bohemia tap Vienna, hypothetically, I think a relatively plausible move set. then they're going to get bounced out of Vienna, and you're going to lose Trieste, and then MNR is going to have 2 on it, and Venice can tap Trieste through, but Trieste can also go mess with Vienna. It's like, what do you keep your units a little bit separated from the front now. Look, I don't love it. Worked great. Okay, it worked wonderfully.
Yes.
I wouldn't recommend these particular tactical defensive moves to my teammates.
This is true. I think also Russia threatening Saxony now is going to be kind of important. They have 2 on there, and they can come down and kind of get the Italian units a bit more surrounded. If they can push down into Bavaria, that's going to be a problem for Italy. So, yeah, elsewhere, things are looking good for England. They managed to get Hamburg, looking very, very bad for Prussia on account of them being dead. They lose Hamburg, they lose Berlin, they lose Cologne to the the English actually take Cologne as well. Okay, and Brest on that turn, and Lisbon. Bloody hell, that's a lot of dots.
Yeah.
They're on what, 1, 2, 3. Oh god, this is like counting city, this variant. So I really wish there was a little guide I could bring up that showed how many dots each power was on. But yeah, here is England has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, they lost that one. Okay, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So they're threatening.
I thought.
In this. But
yeah, that's more than I thought they would have.
Of course, the problem is that they have a lot of those with fleets that can't push in any further, so they need to get some land support in this area if they're going to actually contest. But yeah.
Yeah. Like, England's position is strong, but as you mentioned, they have more land to contest now. And Italy is making progress into Spain. And so that area is now going to be contested as opposed to being just British dominated.
Yes.
So there's going to be some more fighting.
Notably, Italy put the fleet into Madrid, which is nice for the English, right? There's no pressure on their dots yet. But there will be at some point, I'm sure. Yeah, okay. I'm kind of curious how many Russia has at this point in this theater as well. I don't know how far the theater expands. Okay, Moscow, there's no linked dots here. I do. Okay, these don't count for Asia, apparently. Interesting. But Moscow is then... So everything west of Moscow counts for Europe. So they're on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, they've still got... Oh, 9. Sorry. They've still got a way to go, but they're also pushing at the door. Alright.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything else you want to say about Europe?
I think so. Like, it's just, I think we've been over it, right? Like, Russia's doing well. Not crushing, but doing well. Doing fine, making progress. Italy's big, but having a war, so not the biggest. And then England is winning. I don't know. That's Europe.
Alright. And then moving to Asia, which is our last theater here. The interesting thing here was the Chinese attack on Japan, right? Which appears to have stopped.
Yep. Man, what an attack.
Yeah, they have to go back to cover Hong Kong. Japan convoy their unit back to Taiwan here. So, they are looking to prepare to attack, but, like, they don't actually do all that much. But they don't need to do very much because China doesn't really have the fleets to be carrying out this attack in the first place. So, it looks like one center change is all that's going to come of this war for the moment. And if anything else happens, it's likely going to be bad for China. They're going to lose stuff to Japan, I think.
Yeah. Not enough fleets to make progress.
Yep. we do see China walk into Turkmenistan here. I assume to take Kabul behind the Russian unit, which is going to give them a dot. But they need more than that. Yeah. Our other threatening presence was the Brits, who... that's not a valid move, so that doesn't go through. It looks like nothing really is happening over here. They're just biding their time, right?
Yeah, like England is finally getting ready to deal with BRI, Brisbane, right?
Yep.
So that's neat. And now everything is cored. Maybe not. Someone walked into EMI. Is that... Yeah.
Good old Russia is constantly annoying whoever's doing well.
I mean,
Nice
hey, that's important, dude.
Yeah, that is huge. No building here or here for England. That's brilliant. Okay. So yeah, anything else you want to talk about here?
Nah, dude.
Okay, let's go ahead to the... Well, that was the winter phase, and then we'll move forward to the next year here. So, I mean, let's go straight back to Asia. With what's going on here. Russia just walking into Wellington. Of course, it's completely unguarded. There's no British fleets that can stop that from happening. And Britain takes Brisbane, but they're gonna lose Melbourne.
Is this a fall turn?
No, this is spring, right? I think. Wait, was the previous one... No, yeah, the last phase was winter, so this is a spring turn.
Okay, great. Oh, well then taking Wellington right now is questionable. But I guess, yeah, it's to make no bouncing happen. And yeah, then taking Brisbane right now is...
From this direction, certainly. If CRL had gone in, I would be more okay with it, because then North Australia can cover Melbourne. But, oh no, sorry, this is adjacent to Melbourne, that's fine.
Yeah, but now it's a guess, right?
Oh, yeah, it's because Sydney could go back to Brisbane, in which case if you send Brisbane into Melbourne and CRL into, I assume, Coral Reef, into Brisbane, that's going to bounce and that will remain Spanish. Although, there's an English fleet here, so I guess they just support themselves in, and then everything is fine. Okay. The Brits have retaken Batavia as well, by the look of things. And it looks like the Japanese try to enlist British support?
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
just...
British is no longer the boogeyman, right?
Yeah, they might also just be trying to prevent a self-bounce or something here, because I don't see what they're going to gain from the Brits having the fleet over there. I guess it's out of their hair a bit, which would be nice.
Yeah, I guess.
But they are also supporting the Spanish up into here, so...
Yeah, the Philippines team.
Yeah, probably. Meanwhile, everything is support holding. This is just... Even the Japanese fleet is support holding Vladivostok, so... No problems here. There is no war. Everything is fine. In fact, it looks like the only interesting thing that happens is Moscow walks into Omsk.
Yeah.
Russia just coming in and grabbing SCs. Now that England is not a problem anymore, they can look at China and start taking stuff off them. Yeah. Anything else you want to say about this region?
Just that England's position is surprisingly solid, despite having been attacked by Saudi people for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. They have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's
right?
still pretty... Oh, 12. Bloody hell, that's a lot more than I thought. Oh,
right?
Wait, is it 13 with Wellington? I guess they're losing Wellington, so that's...
They are losing Wellington. It's that I think England managed to make good tactics around the Thailand area to pick up a couple of dots, so we weren't really looking.
Yeah.
And like they've lost a couple of things in the core area, but like it's not that important as long as they keep actually getting other important centers. And
Yes.
if like Russia and China stop actively attacking, then it's unclear what happens. And like, oh my god, sorry, do you see what happened over in India? Sorry, I need to highlight this real quick.
Yeah, so Russia went for a center themselves. Britain bounced that out, and that bounced back the Chinese unit as well. It
Because
looks
China
like...
and Russia couldn't agree to just. So this is a problem, right? Where one unit just beat two, right? China and Russia
I think
could
they
have
might
just
have
supported
been
themselves in.
betting on this support holding Calcutta, I assume, here, right?
That's never make that bet. Just strictly speaking, there's a unit that can do two things that has a bet to cover something else. They almost always do that because then their fleet in the Indian Ocean can do other things instead.
Yes.
This is just like one of these things is better than the other, and if you are treating this as a true 50-50 where either he holds or he bounces me, then you're going to lose EV here. This is not a 50-50. This is like a 75-25 type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, they're going to do this. And so you beat this most of the time by just supporting yourself in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. And now this fleet can support hold that in the fall, right? Although then you can slip into Bombay, so I guess it is a bit of a question still. But yeah, they don't coordinate here, and therefore they get bounced out of both by one unit, which is always painful when it happens.
I mean, it feels really good near the one, but yeah, when you have two units and you just like tap two different things and they move and then bounce both, and you're like, oh, you want to bomb it, you want to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's move over to our Ottoman theatre in Africa here. So the Ottomans managing to take BTA here. They move into BZZ. They're going into... Well, that's not a supply center. But, they do...
They do the thing.
So,
and it works because they walk out of Ant.
Yes, exactly. So the Ottomans are pulling back from the Asian theatre now. They went in to stop England from winning. They consider their job done. So they're now focusing back on Madagascar.
Okay. Mission accomplished.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Lagos doesn't go to CCO.
Yeah, that seems like an important one to have.
Yeah, because you've got this brief window of opportunity where there's no adjacent enemy fleets, and you can just kind of walk into this area, and then they need to get 2 units adjacent to you to kick you out, which is going to be very difficult.
There aren't that many centers, and if you put your army in TOG later, you're never losing it. Or LAG, right?
Yes.
Like, just once you have it, that's a good one to hold. Kind of like St. Petersburg, right? Just it's on the stalemate line, you get it, you're stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
But as is, it's still looking good, right? They're still gaining 2 centers in this spring that they're going to keep. But I don't think they're getting anything else, and I think we did a quick math check, and this doesn't win.
Yeah.
This isn't 15.
I agree, they're still not taking Sahara as well, so they don't have the force on Mogadishu. But yeah.
How is it not done?
Alright. So yes, the Ottomans pushing in everywhere, but doesn't look like they're quite getting there, at least from the spring moves. If we look up at Europe here, we do see that move into Saxony, even, that Russia was going for, and they managed to take Copenhagen at the same time. They have a really nice line here, as mentioned last time, but the Italians are now able to defend here. They do make a good guess on not covering M&R again.
Yeah?
Well done at Italy on that front.
I mean, case in point, sometimes sometimes it is correct to actually support both. Um, in this case, the unit in Venice has nothing else to do really, so it's more of a reasonable bet because it's more of just a guess. And the other example, the fleet had something useful to do, so
Yeah.
yeah.
And they appear to be pushing down south for the Spanish census here. So that's their play to get them closer to the win. Whether it's gonna get them enough, we'll see. I guess they are on a decent center count, as we mentioned previously. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But they need to go +5, and +5 feels like quite a lot from this position.
Yeah, there's a lot of units nearby ready to fight as needed.
Mm-hmm. Precisely.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I don't think anyone else is threatening to win in this theater right now. England kind of stopped, and Russia is now pushing in on this side, so Russia is probably the biggest threat, but they don't have a lot of immediate dots either, so...
True, but their position is just really strong,
Yeah.
right? Like, and having the corner position that's finally broken out and just has this full line, right? They occupy every territory from Serbia up to Sweden, right? In a true line,
Yes.
which is usually really strong when you can make progression like this, even if it's not like completely crushing and not guaranteed to push because you might hit a stalemate or something at some point. You'd rarely get pushed back from positions like this.
Absolutely. It's pretty beautiful to see. And I completely forgot, but they also have the Black Sea Fleet over here, which can just walk into this center at any point, right?
Yeah.
For another dot. So yeah.
I suspect honestly it'd be better to wait for like a stab that you go for so you can. I guess there's no other. Wow, sorry. I just noticed that there's no other centers that Turkey has there.
Yeah,
Right,
they have
Ankara,
Constantinople.
Bulgaria is not a thing. It's just Khan, and there's an army in Khan, so it's fine. I was saying take the other center with your fleet in the Black Sea, and then put an army down in ODE, and then have that walk through SCHE, and then go take Baghdad.
Yeah.
Right, that's like, because is Baghdad part of Europe, or is that true Africa 100%? Is it like the pink
Baghdad
color?
is part of Europe, I believe. Let me just bring up the good old Wincon sheet again. This is all
Yeah,
part of
Baghdad
Europe,
is
right?
still Europe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's a thing that looks remarkably exposed, right? The fact that you can put an army down in ODE and walk it over to Baghdad
Yep.
and take a European center, that's very cool.
Man, Russia is actually surprisingly close to winning this then.
Well, I mean,
I mean,
2,
1,
3,
2, 3,
4,
4,
5,
5, 6, 7, 8,
8.
9.
Yeah, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 9. I mean, 9 plus Copenhagen, so they're up to 10, but like,
Yeah, 11,
yeah, maybe they can do
12.
something next year.
Next year does seem very possible for them, and honestly, their expansion
Please.
prospects look better than Italy's. Although, if
And
Italy gets a good stab into these northern African dots, I could see them managing it too.
that's true, but those Northern African dots are much better defended. Right?
Yes.
There's that unit in Algeria already, unit in Tripoli, so then Tunis is going to be fun. And like again, Italy is in multiple fronts and they're being spread out because they're in the middle, whereas Russia gets to keep all the units on one side and just push. And England doesn't have units to defend, right? They're not in Oslo or anything.
Hmm.
So wait, can they even keep Oslo? No, they just lose Oslo, right?
They can
Yeah.
retreat this to Skagerrak, and then I
Yeah,
think
Copenhagen
they
can retreat to Skag still.
Yes.
But if they do that, then they're conceding whatever center
Bamberg.
they self-bounced in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they have to retreat to Jutland. I think that's Jutland. Yeah, JUT, whatever,
Yes.
to defend that dot. But if they don't do that, they lose Oslo.
Yeah, it's an
So
interesting one. I
I
think
mean,
you
it's just
cover Oslo, right? At this point, you move back
Oslo
because like
seems
that's kind
they're
of.
both difficult to retake, dude. I don't know. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's a tough call either way, and like Russia just has to keep pushing, and it's going to be building at least two.
Yeah, I
So
mean
sweet.
Russia's getting a build here
Sweet.
as well.
Yeah, Omsk wasn't Europe though, right? Omsk is Asia, so
Yeah, but build-wise, it can be placed
yeah,
in
still
Europe.
units, right? They can put stuff down.
Absolutely. All right,
And then if
well.
they have all these guesses, right? Look at this. Man, all these theaters here are discounting. Africa and Europe. And these are the ones that might actually matter. All right, let's check
Yeah,
whatever.
it's the
North America
juggernaut.
again?
It's been happening since the start, and we never even noticed.
You know, that is true, right? We've been talking about
Well,
the Juggernaut, right?
yeah, but not as a threat, right? It's just been kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yes, we underestimated how likely they were to actually win. But look, man, solid allies, crushing. Look at that alliance play.
Yeah. All right. So, we've looked at all of these regions, right?
Oh, you know what's brutal though is they have so many overlapping centers, right? Because if either one of them wins, they lock the other out so brutally because of the Northern
Um,
African centers, right?
I don't think it locks it. If Turkey wins, I don't think it locks Russia out very much because it just turns the Turkish units, like it turns
Doesn't it?
this area into a blackout because that's all
Yeah,
the
like Damascus and Baghdad, right? So yeah,
yes.
Russia can still take SCH and Khan,
Oh
right?
no,
So
you
it's not the
can.
end of
So
the
you
world.
can still take those centers. Is the super
Oh,
interesting thing.
wait,
Um,
what? I thought if they got blacked out, it was no one can go there ever again.
no, you can. You can still go there. You can go and take them, but usually you don't really care
Oh,
to because it's not in your sphere of influence, right? It's not in like going into
oh,
African dots
sorry.
after Africa's been blacked out doesn't matter. But here
I
it would be.
understood how that worked. Oh, I thought that once somebody reached 15 centers on a board, I thought no center could be taken on that board anymore, and every unit that was there got locked in forever and was done.
So every unit that's there gets changed into a neutral unit, and every center that's there gets changed into a neutral center, right? As well as the winners'
Mm.
units and centers everywhere get changed neutral. So you can still go in, and it is actually kind of like here it would be really good for Russia because there would be a bunch of empty centers here that they could walk into that would count for their Europe win con. Uh,
Yeah, no, because they're not getting locked out at all, right? There's no
yeah.
downside whatsoever if one of them wins. They're
Well,
just
so there
out the other.
is a massive downside for Turkey if Russia wins Europe, which is that all the Europe dots turn neutral, and that includes a pretty hefty chunk of Turkey's home and build
Yeah,
centers. Uh,
yeah, that is true,
yeah, but they could
definitely.
push back up from Africa in order to retake
I
those
just
ones.
recapture it,
Hmm.
right? Because they don't have any units in any of their home centers, and they've done a good job moving a lot of their armies into like the Sahara, and so they would just get to walk back up and like take Cairo and Damascus, and then Constantinople and what do you think SGH is?
The Schengen area. I have no idea.
Schengen area? Isn't that it?
No,
Whatever. Anyways,
yeah, that's
but
that's
it's
very
like
much not there.
yeah. Anyways, but like it means that if you win, you're not gonna have a bunch of units defending your home, so people are just gonna rush in to snipe. That's okay. That's a very different feeling after someone won than I thought.
Hmm.
I thought the map like shrank dramatically, and everything got really tough to get any more centers anywhere else. As is, it's like oh, they're just a race to see who can get the dots faster.
Yeah.
Cool.
Um. But yes, I mean, so, shall we go over to Americas then now?
Yeah, let's
we,
see it.
yeah, in South America, I mean, Peru isn't looking so good, right? They're losing
Yeah,
ground in the south. Chile's pushing up quite strongly. They do manage to take SBO, which is something, but
yeah. I think Peru's doing fine. It's a slow collapse, but they're not losing that many centers, right? They lost LMA, which they were expected to lose, and but it looks to me like Brazil took a center off of Chile here, unless
they
my eyes are
did.
mistaken.
That is
So
true.
that might be arranged because interestingly, Brazil also covered Asuncion instead of moving down into whatever that thing is, PAL. It's not positioned to take BUA. It's positioned against Peru a bit.
Yep.
I don't know if that's defensive, just covering a dot, or what. But the fact that Brazil did take a dot from Chile is important.
Hmm. Absolutely. Right. Yes. And notably, Brazil does advance on this front, but they have an empty supply center now adjacent to this Peruvian unit, so they will have to go back to cover that potentially, or cover it with the
Maybe,
fleet,
yeah.
which isn't ideal. Yeah, and wait, Brazil supported the Peruvian unit into SPO.
Yep.
I don't love that. I feel like as Brazil here, you're letting Peru win if you manage to get... Like, here, Chile has joined your side, finally, right? You need to take advantage of that and try and use of Peru's strength. But yeah.
Nah, man, he was pissed at Chile, because Chile took too long.
Maybe. That would make sense, I guess. They just decided, nah, alright, I'm done.
Yep.
Alright.
You're not soloing immediately. I think we can start fighting each other again.
Mm-hmm. So, anything else you want to talk about here?
I think it's fine. It's going to be a fun war. Is there any other global pressure coming in on Peru, or do they kind of think that Brazil and Chile have it under control? Doesn't look like it, eh?
Looks like
That's
there's
interesting.
nothing. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, well, final theatre, let's go up to North America here. We do see Mexico pushing up north, and actually with Confederate support into LEC. And Confederacy is actually pushing the Brits north a bit. I mean,
pushing, I would say, is a strong word. It looks to me like the Brits are voluntarily pulling back.
Yeah.
Right. Like, the Brits could be fighting here, but they're just saying, ah, screw this.
I'm confused about why.
They're just covering MTL, right? They're way too concerned about the one rogue unit.
Yep. But they also
And,
move
like,
out of
Winnipeg,
the East Coast, and they don't take
Yeah,
the
right.
guaranteed Richmond Center. Now that one is
Yeah.
guaranteed.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's just they got too worried about this unit in MTL. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh no, it can, like, move to HAL or something, so
Oh,
I
I
need
see.
to
That's
start
what
defending
this is.
that, and, like, oh no, I'm gonna lose Winnipeg, and I might lose Toronto, and I gotta cover everything, and that's what I think happens, right? You see that all the time.
Yeah, fair enough. It feels like an overreaction to me. I feel like you just let this unit do its thing and go somewhere else, or you...
Yeah, send an army back to tap it, right? Yeah,
you just tap it continuously with Toronto, and then when it goes anywhere, you just tap wherever it went to.
Exactly, right? You end up in the dot, and then you just keep giving it love taps, and everything's fine, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aye. But a nice recovery from the Confederates here, although it looks like they are kind of... I mean, Mexico is going to do quite well out of them moving this way. I'm just trying to see where... I mean, Mexico might be able to walk into these dots at some point, but they need to get an army down here, which doesn't seem to be immediately happening. These aren't...
Probably down to Durango, right? And that unit could maybe get convoyed.
Yeah.
Right, like Durango to Oaxaca. Oh, hey, I'm definitely just moving down to go help out the southern border. Yep, Spain.
Yeah, that doesn't have a coastal border, but they can move...
Yeah, the DUR moves down to Oaxaca, right? Exactly. I promise. I'm just moving this down to go deal with my southern border. Yep, don't worry about whatever VER is. I promise everything will be fine. No worries.
Yep. It is kind of amusing to me that Mexico City is not a core of Mexico. Yeah. Because if they could build there, it would be very nice, obviously, for pushing in this way. But
yeah, I guess they have to take VER to help make a core.
Yep. Yeah, and I think working with the Confederates is correct on their part here, because it does kind of put pressure on the Spanish from two different directions. You get to, well, hopefully, when you get to move in, they'll be too busy defending this area to really do anything about it. Alright. Anything else you want to talk about here? The Russian stab of the Brits is kind of interesting.
What is the fleet? Oh, how does it reach Vancouver?
So this is Victoria, this whole province.
That's right, and it borders that thing. I hate that, but it's fair. Okay, great, that works.
It is a very annoying province. I think we
Yeah,
spent a
it
long
does.
time trying to work out what it was in the last video.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, notably these are all spring moves, so they haven't taken them yet, but nothing can knock them out of these centers, so... The only thing that could potentially be problematic for this one is if Mexico walks into Victoria behind them. So they might have to
yeah,
cover, and then if they do that, they might get baited out, right?
yeah. I mean, the spring stab by walking into two open centers that you just have to sit there for an extra phase. Yeah,
It is correct to do it, though, because, look, England was going to go over and defend them. So by walking in the spring, it means England can't do anything with the single unit.
yeah,
Yeah, okay. Shall we move on to the next phase?
yeah. Let's do it.
Alright. So, here we go. I want to say the year, but it just says 62 down here every phase. I know it's... I don't know what year we're in anymore.
It's like what 68 or something.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's go with
right.
that. So I always label the years on the YouTube chapters or whatever, so if you want to see what year it is, you can just hover over that.
I feel like we've been here forever.
It's a lot of back and forth. It felt like... Well, it's felt like so many people are so close for so long here.
But now it doesn't feel like anyone's close except for like Turkey in Africa
Yeah.
and like maybe Russia in Europe next year.
Well, let's have a quick look around. So we've got South America here, which nothing really happens in.
Nothing ever happens.
They good guess from Chile on where this unit would go. It could have obviously gone to PMT. It did not.
Wait, what? Sorry, orders. It looks like this fleet in LMA attempted to support an army into Suck.
No,
No,
that's an
there's an
army
army in
next door.
ATA.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great, 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 great. I was losing it.
This one's just holding, but they do
Yeah.
actually successfully support themselves into Suck, but they lose SLT at the same time. To the Brazilian support of the Peruvian unit in. Honestly, if Brazil wants Peru to win here, I think Peru is going to win one way or another.
Yeah, but you'll notice that Brazil isn't giving Peru any of their centers, right?
Yeah, they just want to push them into Chilean ones.
Yeah, but if they give Chile enough dots, if they give Peru enough dots, so Peru wins, even though they don't let Brazil take any, even though they don't let Peru take any Brazilian dots, I think Brazil's still through. We'll see if Peru wins.
Maybe.
I don't know if Peru's winning here, and I think making Peru a global threat that people have to deal with is totally fine.
Yeah, notably Brazil does get a dot out of this, and I mean Chile is now gonna be on 7, I guess. That's not nothing, and this position is kind of strong if you can secure SPO. So, and probably these centers as well, to be honest. Okay, it's not incredibly strong, but it's... Like, I think there could be reasons for Brazil taking this side. I don't think it's... honestly, I don't think Brazil is winning this either way, so I can't blame them too much. But yeah.
I do agree.
Anything else to say about South America?
Nah.
Alright, let's go to North America. So as you mentioned, it's just a lot of holding from the Russian units. Mexico pushing their way out here, which could be a really good move from them, actually. There are a lot of centers in this region. If they take fleet control over here, that's a lot of potential dots for them.
Ooh, and England is in NWT. Was NAR, is that a core, like an original core from Russia, or is that going to be gone now?
I don't remember. I think all colonials have no original cores abroad. So Russia is probably losing this as a core.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah, that's big.
It's gonna be tough for them.
Man. Alright. And yeah, England in general just pushing entirely north, right? They do lose Toronto to the Confederates here, but they
Yeah,
are just issuing a support hold onto ECO to say, hey, I'm working with you, and they're going in against the Spanish down here, so hell,
sure.
they are probably working with the Confederates now, and it looks like,
Hashtag balance of power.
yeah, it looks like the Confederacy obviously didn't trust them very much moving up to these dots, but that's completely reasonable in this position. Yeah, and it seems to have worked out okay for them. I assume these are planned bounces between them and Mexico. And sadly, we do not see the move that you were talking about of moving down to Oaxaca.
Taco. Sad.
Yeah, and especially with England pushing in this way, you would think this is the perfect opportunity. But maybe they want to wait until England is and Confederate has actually hard committed and this fleet has had to pull back.
Yeah, but it sucks because Durango isn't actually able to like move into attack. Durango is like very defensive.
Yeah, but if you know that Tam is moving out at some point, then you can move into Tam with this unit and Durango into Oaxaca at the same time, and then you get a supported attack on Ver at the same
Yeah.
on the fourth phase. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about here?
I like that England and the Confederates are able to make peace here. I think neither one of them were going to do well in the region if they kept fighting to the death. Like, yes, I think they had better tactics they could have done, but even still, if they both are playing well tactically, then they're going to lose to Mexico slash Russia sniping things off the side as they continue to grow. So I like them making peace here. I think it gives both of them a good chance to get stronger and win.
Yep. 100% agreed. I think Mexico is enough of a threat to win, even, like, despite that they may need to unite and fight them together pretty soon. Especially with this region. Mexico pushing.
I don't think Mexico is a threat quite yet. Certainly, if England and the Confederates attack Spain, so Spain can't put any pressure on Mexico, then Mexico becomes a much bigger threat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mexico has 10, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
So they only need 5 to win. If they can snipe the Russian dots up here, they're pretty damn close.
Yeah, but like sniping all the Russian dots with 2 fleets, that doesn't seem
it's tough.
easy. But like if they get control over whatever, not Vancouver, but Victoria, and if they get all of that, which they are now a favorite to do because England sniped that core there and they have their fleet in the San Francisco Bay, they have their army up in California, which means that they can take control over Victoria. And then if they take LEC, they can take Portland. Like they are gonna have progress over on the West Coast, it looks like.
Yep, sure does. Well, alright, that is North America. Let's go to Africa. So here we have...
Savior, please.
Ottomans managed to take Madagascar. Who is this?
Yeah.
Oh, that's England in there.
That's England.
Brazil
yeah,
helps
Brazil's
England.
supporting it. Yeah. Brazil's fighter. I respect it. Ha! The neutral support.
That's a good move from France, stopping Turkey from getting into the Sahara by supporting the neutral unit. Love it.
England sniped France over here. Did we notice that? I don't think we noticed that.
I don't think we did either. They've been kind of doing that to each other for a little while in Africa.
Yeah, but like this one, maybe it was this seems a little different because it feels a little later in the world.
Yes.
To be going for this sort of snipe.
I think at this point England just goes, well, Africa's collapsing anyway, I may as well just take the bill to use somewhere else, right?
Maybe, but like, I don't know, is Africa truly lost? Like, if France could have built there and put down an army, is the game over?
Oh, that is actually a very good point. That's the one build supply center here, right? So,
yeah.
a French build there could have been really important. Oh, boy. Alright. But yeah, the Ottomans don't actually take very much this year. They take 1 here and 1 there. So 2 total.
Yeah.
I haven't counted, but I don't think that gets them there, and especially not considering... I think that's in the European
That was
theater
not in
anyway.
Africa, yeah.
But it does stray up into Europe, so is there anything else you want to say about Africa before we head off?
Nah, we can go look at Europe now.
Alright, let's look at Europe. So,
Sure.
Russia snipes.
Yeah.
It's not the way you recommended they do it. Of sniping with an army going through here, taking Baghdad, and then pushing the fleet in behind.
Oh, well.
It might
It can't all
actually
be
just be
perfect.
agreed, although this makes me think it's not.
Yeah. That doesn't look like it's an agreed thing.
Yep. I think
I just think Russia can smell victory, right? Russia is took Oslo as well, right? They had their shot because they saw the retreat, and they're like, okay, I'm kind of getting everywhere, and let's stay strong.
Yeah.
And then wait, do they? Okay, because wait, Piedmont borders Vienna in this variant.
Yes, it looks
I
like it.
hate it when they use the names on the real diplomacy board and the adjacencies aren't the same.
Sadly,
Alright,
some of the names on the real diplomacy board come from history, which is the same across different boards. Yeah. But yes, it does. So they support hold this, and like Italy is creating a pretty solid defensive line here, which I think is why it's kind of important that Russia does this and pushes into these centers right here to try and get to their win.
Yeah, and like from Turkey's perspective, again, Baghdad and Damascus are the big ones because Baghdad, that's an original Turkish core. That's an OG.
Yep. So,
Yeah, so that one they can still build and to defend.
and notably
only a
they
fleet,
are
so there's
getting
no
builds, or at least no, actually they might not be because they lost this dot over here. They gained 2 here, and then they lose that one, so they're not building.
Brutal.
Well,
Well, good time to stab.
absolutely. The Italians managed to push into Paris, so they do gain another center here. It's
And
slow progress.
They don't get Seville either. Okay.
It's slow progress, but it is progress. They're getting there. Yeah. And Britain decided to defend Hamburg instead of Oslo, which is an interesting choice because it's going to mean that this fleet is going to be able to outflank them. But hey, we'll see how it goes for them.
Yeah, but Hamburg's like right up the gut, and it's important too. Things can keep collapsing if you lose that also. So there are no good centers there to lose.
Yeah. Britain did take Amsterdam here actually, so they went. They didn't go well. They did go negative. They only went -1 from this. All right. Anything else you want to say about Europe?
Italy versus Russia versus England. That's where it's coming down to, with like a couple of straggler units walking around. I like Russia's position the most. It's the cleanest. It's the smoothest. It's the I'm pushing forward everywhere. Let's go.
Yep.
And it's nice with this variant, right, where they get everything cored, because now they're going to be getting cores in Prussian land, right? Like, I think KON that's not originally Russian, I don't think, but they can now put an army down there and push to the front quickly. And then also BCH, right? The Romania equivalent, that's now a core.
Ooh,
So they get to put an army down there and push it into Serbia and keep making progress. Like, this is... The clean line that pushes everywhere is really nice in this coring by army presence variant.
Yep.
And Stockholm's a core, right? Because they're in Copenhagen and Oslo, so they can like build a fleet there and slip that into Skagerrak.
Oh man, that is actually true. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Because they just get to reinforce their front everywhere. That's like not far back, right? Normally, when you're pushing like this, you're building back home, and it takes ages to get up there. Here, that's not even happening a little bit. So,
Yep.
yep,
Alright, well, let's go ahead to Asia here. So, over here we are seeing China decide to take Kabul after all this, instead of
sure.
supporting the Russian into CCC.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that's one way to handle it.
The, they're also support holding themselves in Hong Kong instead of going down into Yun.
Yeah. Wait, wasn't England like close to winning in this theater already?
I think
What,
they
they
were
like
on
13 or
13.
something?
So they gain here, they gain here, they lose one here. And they gain one here. Which I think brings them to exactly 15.
Alright.
Uh,
Well,
Man.
is that really? It's not like
Hang
that?
on.
Just,
So, wait, that one is lost. So
oh
1, 2,
my god,
3,
because City
4,
doesn't take. Oh
5,
my god.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yep. That's it for Asia, and it's it's
Alright.
all because Himalayas goes to Kabul instead of supporting the
there.
Russian in.
I mean, it's also because Spain didn't choose to take Melbourne, right? They chose to move out.
Well,
Or didn't tap Brie, right? They could have tapped Brie, excuse me. That person would
yes.
have been the move. But they didn't notice that. They didn't see it coming, so that's fine.
I think they
Oh,
may have
Lord.
thought that this would support that, and so their best bet would just be repositioning into a better
No,
spot.
but that's why they tap HHE. So then the fleet and WMI can only do one of the two.
Yep. That is the important thing here. So, basically, two mistakes here. Take out the Asian theatre. And for Spain, that's not the worst thing in the world, because they do still have a presence on the board. But this move right here is gonna kill China.
All right. I mean, they deserve it, right? Their fault.
I mean, yes and no, of course. They have to go for their own win, and to do that, they need the dots, right? But I think they really should have pushed in a little bit more here.
You have to temper your own win with stopping someone else from winning first. Like, look, this is coming from me, okay? When someone's on 17 centers, that is not the time to go screwing with people unless you're throwing. Right? Like,
Yep.
you can say, you know what, screw you guys. I want you all to lose, and that's when you mess with them. But hey, they get eliminated, serves them right.
Notably, as well, they could have just got him from Uru and still supported the move into Calcutta. And probably quite reasonably said, hey, you're taking Omsk. That was my, take back from that.
Yeah,
But yeah.
that would have been totally fine.
It's also very easy for us to say this looking at the retrospective, right, of the board position, and especially maybe they calculated over here, hey, England isn't going to get enough because Spain can always block them out of one.
Yeah.
But
look, they played risky with the game on the line. And if I really hope that's what they were doing and it was a calculated risk and then they just screwed up the math.
Yeah. Well, as we can see, if we go forward a phase, there's the blackout. Goodbye, China. Goodbye, Japan as well.
Well played, England, by the way.
Very well
we
played.
spent all of this time just like shitting on the people. Right, we were talking about how you should just pull out of Asia. It's all done. No one need to have any units there. Get everything out. Cut it. Just like 3 years later, they win in that theater. Shows what we're talking about.
To be fair, I think we didn't really... Well, okay, so I think the huge thing about this theatre was that it was a coalition between 6 countries to take them out of that count, right? We had Spain in there, we had France in there, we had Ottomans in there, we had China in there, we had Japan in there, we had Russia in there, all pushing in on England. And when it's a coalition that large, the capability for one like just one individual to to change things up, and then suddenly you're back in the game is so high. You
Interesting. So you're saying that huge coalitions that take tons of parties to work together from across the entire map
that
usually don't hold together, right?
yes, indeed.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I agree with that. Usually that doesn't happen. Uh-huh. Anyways, I agree. That's what happened here, and it looked like they just couldn't keep their shit together while they were all trying to like win the game for themselves. So yeah.
Oh man, there's so many like references that you make like that our viewers will have no idea what game you're referring to until we talk about it in the commentary like 2 months later or something.
God.
For reference, that one, I'll just cut I'm not going to cut this out of the video, but I will like grab this section of the video and transplant it into that bit just to like when we do that commentary.
Sure, so we're gonna save this. People are gonna get a teaser here, then they're gonna come to this and they're just gonna hear me be a little pissy shit for a couple minutes. God, I can't. Anyways.
Exactly. Alright, well, anyway, so this area is blacked out. You get to see what happens in a blackout.
They're all just neutrals. And you can just take those centers. All of them now.
You can, but of course, this region isn't in play anymore, so if you go for, like, these centers don't count towards the win condition, they just count as SCs, right, if you want builds.
But the overlapping ones, if there are any, but for Asia...
The overlapping ones would. There are not any overlapping dots for Asia. You can see these are not Asian dots.
Okay, neat, interesting.
But,
so it's like the least impactful region to black out then.
Yes, but notably, it also blacks out the winners' units and dots across other theatres. So these are gone, and these here are also gone. Which is going to make this theatre quite interesting. I think here, massive advantage to Russia, right? Having those English units disappear. Well, not disappear, but become neutral.
But no one can defend Edinburgh anymore.
Yep. And no one can defend Hamburg.
Yeah, and Russia did put that fleet into Stockholm. So yeah, like Eddie goes, Hamburg goes, and then like maybe Amsterdam goes shortly, or like London. I mean, I don't know. All of the English centers on the mainland are now gone, and Russia's going to get them, and Russia's going to win. Yes. Check Africa for me, because England had some stuff down here still. And now that stuff's gone, and so that might mean that Turkey can just walk in and crush, right? GUI is now neutral. So now Turkey is going to get CCO guaranteed. Oh, it looks like France disbanded even. So yeah, Turkey... wasn't Turkey like close already? And Turkey now probably can just win here too?
Probably. They're on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, they're 2 off.
Yeah, so they just like take CCO and whatever. And like South Africa.
Cape Town,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that'll do it.
That'll do it. Yeah.
So that's our winners, right? Because then we're going to have 2 colonial... Oh, wait, but only 2 colonials then can win. So Russia probably beats Turkey then?
I think Turkey doesn't count. I don't know if Turkey counts as a colonial. Because they start entirely in one theatre, right?
Okay. Sure.
But I might be mistaken on that. We'll see. We can see as it goes along. And then over here, of course, well, here nothing has changed.
Yeah.
These powers are just locked into combat. And over here, suddenly, well, they...
Yeah, but England covered everything. That's very
true.
sad.
The Confederacy could have walked into a bunch of dots if England hadn't walked back into all of the, like, this whole region is surprisingly solid, given that there's...
Yeah, a dead player there. Although the convoy over into Maine, which the Confederacy can't do.
They have no armies on the coast. Yeah.
Because the convoy to Maine just, like, opens things up a lot.
Yeah. This is post-builds, by the way. They did have an army here. They had to disband it.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Oof.
Well, bit of a painful one. Shall we go through to see the moves on the next
Yeah,
phase?
let's just see who's gonna win, and it's gonna be like, again, Russia, Turkey are both gonna win, and then we can.
So yeah, notably you can see France sailing in to grab a free dot here, because they want the build.
Yep.
Yeah. This is interesting. That succeeds somehow?
Yeah, they're trying...
that's not a border. Okay.
Wait, what? So that means that Turkey doesn't take South Africa?
They do get 2 on it, but no, this can... Yeah, they can support it with 3.
But there's going to be 3 supporting it.
Jeez.
They needed to just support themselves into Cape Horn, or into Cape Town, while moving their fleet into position.
Oh, they get Mogadishu, right?
Oh, do they?
Because they just
they're
took
in Sahara now,
tap, or
and then they can tap and take CCO. Okay, but just quick thing, lesson for the people here. Okay, so we're in this position, right? If you are in Turkey's position and you're trying to guarantee the capture of Cape Town this year, support yourself into it in the spring. Mm-hmm. This feels somewhat counterintuitive because, hey, it's only the spring, I'm not positioning for the fall. But by taking it, you are. The only way that they can stop you from taking it is by supporting it to hold with their fleet. By getting your fleet into position in the Cape of Good Hope, you can then take Cape Horn in the fall, guaranteed, no matter what, because now it's 3 against 2. You just have it. So if they support it in the spring and you don't take it in the spring, because they support it, you get it in the fall.
Yep.
If you then if you do take it and they go for this convoy while you take it, you're already in it, so they, even though it's 3 against 3, then they can't force you out, and you've already captured it, so you're fine.
Yep.
So just take it. You'll have it every time. Also know the adjacencies, and that's an easy one to screw up, because that looks like they're adjacent. I thought that would work. So that feels bad, because that would also have been... If that was a legal move, it also would have guaranteed it. So that one kind of sucks, but taking stuff in the spring also works too.
Yeah, watch out for these random leaks. There's some annoying ones like this in Imp as well. There was one that got me in Ikuri. It's this one right here. On the Imp map, this is a pretty brutal area for stalemates and stuff because you can't move over this lake. Always check the lakes. They're quite often borders. Sorry, they're quite often not borders. They're impassable zones.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
right.
Because they're gonna get Mogadishu, it'll be fine, right? And Mogadishu can't be saved by anything. There's no like Spanish fleets or anything in the area that can like mess with stuff. Italy can,
there's
right?
an Italian one,
fleet.
But actually they can just take Dakar instead. They can have this cut Mogadishu.
And then supporting from. Great. Okay, yeah, that works. Okay, cool. So it's not going to cost them, but that would be really sad if that one fleet cost them the thing.
Yeah, although what might cost them... Oh no, nothing's... This being a fleet saves them, right? Somewhat.
Yep.
Although they could have moved Cairo back and defended, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah. I wonder if this being a fleet was Russia saying, look, thanks for being by my side this whole game. I'm sorry I stabbed you. I'm only going to take the ones that aren't in the African theater from you.
Yeah. And, like, they both got their win, so it's actually mutually beneficial, right?
Yeah. Alright, so, well, now we're looking at the European theater. We can look at what's going on.
And, like, as we thought, right, Russia's going to get, like, Edinburgh or Dublin. In this case, looks like it's going to be Dublin, because that's guaranteed.
Yeah.
They're not losing anything. They're going to get Hamburg with no issues. And that's an army taking, what, HNO? Hanover? I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know what that...
Isn't Hanover a city? But that's not... I don't know, man. Anyways, then... Maybe they can... Russia's going to get, like, CLG, it looks like. Cologne.
Yeah, Italy could support
cut. The Bohemia's going to cut it. And then they're going to take from Saxony. And then they can use their army and POR to take Hamburg. So, yeah, they're getting, like, Dublin, Cologne, Hamburg, and, like, Constantinople. Yeah, so Russia's going to win in the European theater.
Yeah, I mean, Italy's not slouching here either. They're going to get GIJ, they're going to get Seville, they're going to get Brest, right?
They are going to gain Brest, that's 3.
So 3...
But, like, Russia was already bigger and is getting more, so...
Yep.
Yeah.
Alright. So, yeah.
Cool.
Then we move to South America. What is happening in South America?
Is Peru gonna get a win?
Peru is getting into
Maybe.
here.
Chile is running away.
Yeah, they did actually just move out with these units.
Oh, but SPO moved somewhere
Uh,
to like snipe a thought elsewhere. That's unfortunate.
oh,
Yeah, I
it
mean,
moved to
sure, they
snipe.
get. Yeah, but it's not a thought in the theater that's winning, I don't think, right?
No,
So it doesn't matter.
it doesn't. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
unfortunate.
but then they do get they get the like Panama, right?
Yes, they will. That is
Do they have a
actually
fleet
important.
in the ocean next to Man right now?
Uh,
No,
no.
that's Mexico. Okay.
So
Yeah,
this fleet might support hold that and ruin their plans.
yeah, that would be sad.
But yeah.
Ah, well.
Uh,
Okay, so they're not winning. Okay, next. North America, nobody's
okay.
winning, right? Mexico didn't pull something out of their hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing out of their hat. Okay, great. Let's go.
They managed to get Honolulu, and they're probably going to
Yeah, but
get
no one cares. They're
Victoria
not
as
winning.
well.
Next.
Okay,
Let's see the
fine.
winners. Come
Right.
on. Spend 3 hours, man.
All
We
right.
said this was quick.
It is. It's quick for a Diplo Strats episode, right?
What are we talking about? Anyways.
Okay,
Wait.
so also
And then Brazil convoy back. Brazil didn't even bother to defend. Okay, great.
I do
That's
love
fine.
the. I love the Brazilian expeditions into Africa. They have all been convoy back. Like, we're
That's
done
great.
exploring. We only need the one.
Sure.
But yeah, so Ottomans make it here. They're gonna get 1, 2, and 3, which brings them to 16 in the theatre. Oh, 4 even. They get support from the Italian. So 17 in the theatre. That's pretty solid. And then in Europe, it is all the dots you were talking about, right? Dublin, Hamburg, they take Cologne in exactly the way you were talking about. And they get MNR. So which puts them on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, I think.
Sure.
Which, yep, is going to be enough. I don't think Italy has enough to contest that, even though it was a very good attempt from them to do so.
Hard fought.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, Italy had a very real chance of winning this if England didn't win in the other theatre, I think. Because
Yeah, just giving Russia access to the extra dots is brutal.
absolutely. Alright, and then if we look at South America here, they do actually successfully take Panama.
Yeah, but
and
it's just that,
SEC.
right? And they weren't at 15 earlier, so they're not going to be at 15 now, I don't think so. Unfortunate.
It's 1, 2. Is this a? This is a dot,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, they're not there.
Yeah,
Oh, 14. 14 with Papua. That's not Papua New
Did we
Guinea.
miss
I
one?
don't know what that is.
14? Man, 14's awfully close.
Yeah. Maybe. I hope I didn't miscount though. That is. Also, I do want to make sure that Wellington isn't part of the. Yeah, that's just Asia. That's not part of the South American. No, wink on.
Yeah.
Alright. That's disappointing, because if they just walked this way, they would have got to the 15, right?
Yeah, or taking CBD, right? Or CDB. Forgive me. Alright.
Oh boy. Alright. So yeah, and then if we look to North America, no one's winning in North America, right? There's just
Yeah, alright, that's
no
it.
shot.
Cool. Alright.
Okay,
Good
so
call,
if we
everybody.
move to the here, the blackout stage. Okay, so Ottomans, because they had the most supply centers there, get the second place. And it was
Okay.
only 1 over the Russian, I believe. So Russia also blacks out in this phase, getting third place. And
Sure.
actually, so if I understand what Superstition said to me correctly, this theater declares a draw with Peru as the winner.
Sure.
So that theatre also blacks out at the end of this phase with Peru coming in 4th place.
And then we have Mexico fighting it out with the Confederacy for 5th.
Yeah, so that would have happened, but they then decided, okay, everything's done. We're just going to call a draw at this point, because this is it's an interesting 1v1 map, maybe, but at this point, with the entire world pieced out, it's...
Because it's just the 1v1 now.
Yeah.
And this is an interesting one, especially with the condition that you can take centers elsewhere, but they don't win.
Well, the thing is, they will win, right? Mexico wins on account of just walking into these centers, I think.
Yeah, Mexico has a lot of centers to just walk to.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one would just be a win for Mexico. Okay.
Yep. I will just quickly check. I think Mexico was declared to be in 5th place because they have more centers here, and these guys pieced out, like Drew. Yeah, okay, so Mexico has the 5th place on this. Peru has 4th place. This was Russia had 3rd, Ottomans had 2nd, and England, of course, had the victory, 1st place, winning a year earlier than everyone else did.
Hell yes.
So, congratulations, England. Heck of a victory. And in a region that we thought would be impossible for you to win. So, yeah.
Absolutely crushed.
Let me go and find their names a second, because we haven't really mentioned names throughout. Oh my god.
Yeah.
This award is presented to Salt. Okay.
This was Salt?
One of them was Salt.
Yeah.
So it's Salt, Firebender, and Chris.
Which one do we think was Salt?
Which one stabbed the most? Like, it's gotta be the one who, like, brutally murdered the Spain, right?
It was England. The British one looks like a Salt to me. Remember every time he just, like, randomly dotted France in Africa? Yeah. That right. Yep.
So yeah, congratulations. And also, I mean, Firebender is very notorious in Imperial diplomacy for getting coalitioned every time they play. So congratulations to you as well for winning this one. And congratulations to Chris, who I haven't heard of before, but again, like, every British theatre in this game was phenomenal, in my opinion. I assume you think the same as you, yeah. There was a good reason we were singing England's praises very early on.
Yeah, it's because we love Salt.
Yeah, of course. I love everything Salt does. Oh, God. Alright. I think Stitches... So I asked the variant designer when I was looking at covering this variant, hey, which game would you like me to cover? And he sent me this one. I wonder if he sent me this one because Salt won.
Got him.
Alright, and
Salt's a good player, man. You give him way too much shit.
He is. He's a really good player. I hate that he's a good player because he always attacks me.
Man, he just doesn't attack me. It's really crazy. You gotta level up your talking game, Captain Meme. Offer him dots. He won't attack you. I promise.
To be fair, I do also attack him quite a lot. But it's funnier if I ignore that fact.
Yeah.
Alright. So this has been Diplomacy 1862. I'm gonna bring up the starting map instead of the ending one, because it has a bit more colour on it. But yeah, if you're at all interested in this variant, I highly recommend checking out the Discord link in the description below. I don't know if there's any games running currently, but there likely will be in the near future. And as mentioned at the start of the first part, this is actually a modular board, so you can play on individual sections of the board without playing on others. It's a really cool feature. And, like, I really love how well they made it work. I kind of love the way that the race to victory happened. Like, this whole board ended up being balance of power all over the place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Ezio is a huge balance of power fan, as you can hear.
Absolutely. I love balance of power.
Alright, so, any final thoughts from you, Ezio, on the variant or on the game?
It's a really cool variant. It was awesome. You can see how long it took us, and we were trying to go fast. We just couldn't because there's so much interesting stuff going on. The dynamics with the different win conditions and the different areas of the board was super cool. Each region obviously has the ability for people to do well and do poorly, for people to get close to winning and then get stopped. There wasn't just like a clear snowball effect where someone got strong and then crushed everyone. That's a very good sign. Really nicely done. Very happy. Just, it's awesome.
Yep. I mean, congrats on the variant, Stitches. It's fantastic. Alright, that has been Diplomacy 1862. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.